going to give everyone a chance to get fully connected to the Zoom here. We'll get started shortly. Okay, I think that we have got everyone in from the waiting room. So good morning, all. My name is Mel Barnes. I'm Chief Legal Counsel to Governor Evers and the chair of his Pardon Advisory Board. I'm going to go through a couple of housekeeping items before we get started, introduce you to all of the members of the Pardon Board present today, and then we will go ahead and start hearing from all of you. So let me begin with introducing my fellow board members. We have with us in the Zoom today, Judge Jeffrey Kremers, who is AG Josh Call's appointee to this board. He served on the Milwaukee County Circuit Court for 26 years, including serving as chief judge for 7 of those years before retiring in 2018. We have board member Anthony Cooper Sr., who is the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Reentry Services for Nehemiah Center for Urban Leadership Development. He's also the CEO of Focused Interruption, and he received a pardon from Governor Evers in January of 2021. We have board member Jerry Hancock, who is the director of the Prison Ministry Project. He previously served as a public defender, a deputy district attorney, and as an administrator for the Department of Justice's Law Enforcement Services. We have board member Cindy O'Donnell, who served as the deputy secretary for the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle. She also served as a division administrator under Attorneys General Lautenschlager and Van Hollen. We have board member Noble Ray. Noble Ray served with the Madison Police Department for almost 28 years, including as chief of police from 2004 to 2013. And he has led the U.S. Justice Department's Policing Practices and Accountability Initiative and currently provides racial bias training for law enforcement agencies around the world. And finally, we have board member Myrna Warrington, who is the director of vocational rehabilitation on the Menominee Indian Reservation. She is a U.S. Army vet. She has been a member of the Menominee Tribal Legislature for over 15 years. Those are our board members, so thank you for joining us today, everyone. We're excited to hear from all of our applicants. Just a couple of housekeeping notes before we dive into today's hearing. Please keep in mind today's hearing is being live streamed on Wisconsin Eye and YouTube, so we'll ask that you mute yourself and keep your video off until it is your turn to be heard by the board so that we get clear audio and can focus on the person presenting. If you do run into any IT issues with the Zoom, don't worry about it. Someone from the team will reach out to you and help you troubleshoot. If that means that we need to come back to you because Zoom's not cooperating when it's your turn, we will certainly do that. Otherwise, we will call on folks in the order listed in the agenda and open meeting notice. And each applicant will have about 5 minutes total with the board. We'll ask you to spend the first 3 of those minutes speaking to the questions that we sent you in advance of today's hearing. As a reminder, that is to please provide us with a brief summary of the offense you're seeking a pardon for and how your crime went. Keep in mind, we're not here to retry the crime. We're not looking for you to minimize involvement. We just want to hear from you in your own words about what happened. Second is a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including any community involvement, employment, essentially where you're at now and how your life is different than the time of your offense. And then third, a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. After you spend about the first 3 minutes speaking to those questions, we'll open it up to any additional questions the board may have from you. Don't read too much into it either way. If the board does or doesn't have questions, we've all been through your application materials, which as you know are quite detailed and spent a lot of time with those. Sometimes everything is answered there, but if we do have further questions, we want to make sure that we get to those so that we have enough information to make a thoughtful recommendation to the governor. Once you're done answering any questions that the board has for you, you are welcome to sign off. You do not need to hang out in the Zoom. And once everyone is heard, the board will move into closed session to decide whether or not to recommend your application to the governor. You need a majority support of board members present in order for your application to be sent on to the governor, who will then make the final decision on whether or not to grant a pardon. Either way, you'll hear about the outcome of today's hearing in about a month or two. We know you've been really patient just to get to today's hearing and ask for just a little bit more patience so that we can get those thorough recommendations to the governor. So with that, we will go ahead and get started with our first applicant this morning, which is Mr. Justin Prenevost. Mr. Prenevost, are you with us in the Zoom? Okay, do not see Mr. Prenevost, so we will move on to Charles McCoy Jr. Mr. McCoy?
Can you hear me?
We can. We cannot yet see you. Is it possible to turn your camera on? There we go.
This is Justin. I'm sorry. I had issues getting it turned on.
No problem. Well, great. We're happy to have you then, Justin.
Yeah.
We will turn it over to you.
All right. First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for giving me this opportunity. My name is Justin Prenevost. I'm here today asking for a pardon for a mistake I made over 20 years ago. When I was 18, my family moved to China. I had decided to stay back here in the U.S. alone. I was raised in a strict house, a religious home, and when I suddenly had that freedom, I made some poor choices. I was looking for a place to fit in, and I got involved with some people that I'd only known for a few weeks, which I deeply regret, but I do take full responsibilities for my actions. I was convicted to party of the crime of burglary and sentenced to probation with time served. Since then, I've spent every day working, trying to become somebody better. I haven't reoffended. I've raised a family. I've been active in my church. I've given back to my community. I cook for the men's breakfast at my church. I've helped clean the highways, helped with feeding the homeless, and helped with companies or benefits that are like Feed the Starving Children. Also go around picking up trash at the local parks and off the streets. I'm the guy that when it snows, I'm going down the whole block snow plowing everybody's sidewalks. I'm not a well-known figure, but I do everything to serve quietly and consistently. At work, I've grown professionally. I'm part of the emergency response team. I've completed several certifications for my role. And last year, I was selected by my peers as one of the only 8 people out of Mercury to attend the IM Grand Lodge Convention in New York. Still, despite having a felon has held me back, I'd like to start a business that I can pass on to kids, but with the licensings and insurance, it gets in the way. I've helped with the coaches at my kids' schools as a sideline coach, but I'd like to be more and fully involved with that, as well as helping out with the youth at my church. Fostering kids has also been something that I have thought about doing and is an interest of mine. I also have my siblings that they live all over the world in England, Norway, and Australia. All of them have gotten married, and I haven't been able to attend any of their marriages because they were overseas and my felon will not allow me to travel. I have tried to contact the victim in my case to make amends, but sadly they had passed away, so I was not able to do that. And that's been hard for me to accept because I like forgiveness and I want full forgiveness. But I've been doing my best to redeem myself, and I feel like a pardon would be something that would be something from the state saying that they forgive me for what I've done. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Prenevost. We'll open up and see if board members have any other questions for you. Board members? Cindy.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Prenevost. It looks like, so the crime was in 1999. It doesn't look like you were convicted until 2001. Is that right?
Correct.
What took so long? Do you know?
I don't know. It was a big mix-up. Like, I was new here. I just moved here from Wyoming. And when everything happened, I was actually talking to detectives in Fond du Lac County. And I told them about this, what happened, and not knowing that there was a difference between Oshkosh and Fond du Lac. And so there was like a mix-up there. And I don't know, it took a while.
Yeah, sure did. And then it looks like you had a couple of other 2000, a misdemeanor theft. 2004, a non-criminal worthless checks, and then 2006, you had a unemployment compensation benefit warrant for $304. So what was going on then in your life, and how did you turn that around?
The whole thing with the unemployment is I was gaining unemployment, and then for some reason they issued me a check and I didn't know anything about it, like that I wasn't supposed to be getting it. And I'm not sure why. I ended up paying that back. And the theft was kind of all the same thing. I had a $20 bill that was counterfeit that somebody had made, and I had spent it. So, and then what was the other one?
A worthless check, 2004. Not, it was eventually reduced to non-criminal.
Yeah, I think that was just a mishap. Wrote a check, didn't balance my checkbook.
Okay. So how did you turn things around?
Well, I just went back to my old roots and just stayed away from people that I knew were no good. I stayed focused on work after everything. I was going to school, trying to go to college for culinary arts, just focused on work and started building a family. Just did what you're supposed to do.
Okay, thank you.
I did have a question. I don't know if you guys got it. I sent an email with it. It was a notice from the district attorney pardon board.
We did get that, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I didn't see that in my file.
Yeah, we have it noted as the district attorney providing input that they support a pardon.
Okay.
I do have a quick question.
Hancock?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, we'll go ahead. I didn't see you.
Just a point of clarification or understanding. Prenevost, did you, when you said you used the $20 counterfeit currency, did you know that it was counterfeit before you used it?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay.
And this actually all happened at the same time as the burglary during that period of time when I was hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Gary?
How does the support from the district attorney's office make you feel?
It gives me some forgiveness for what I did. It makes me feel good because what I did it was wrong. I admit it. It was wrong, and it weighs on me because I know better. I knew better. Like I said, I was raised in a very strict religious household, and that's one of the 10 commandments is do not steal, and I did that, and so it kind of gives me a feeling of forgiveness.
Thanks.
No problem.
Any other questions for Mr. Prenevost? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Prenevost. Appreciate your time with the board this morning and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You guys as well.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Charles McCoy. Mr. McCoy?
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, how's everybody doing this morning? My name is Charles McCoy. You guys already know that. I'm here seeking a pardon. One of the things about, as I think back to my actions is my past, my surroundings, who I was with, the blessing it's weird how things happen, we talk about prison and we talk about getting away from your family and friends and your community, but and how I see life now as I'm going to be 55 in a couple months, it was a blessing for me to go through this change. My actions, I apologize. This was like I said, like the other gentleman just talked, raised middle class family, raised very well, just choosing to do the wrong. One of the things that's been a blessing is since I've been home, I have had no police contact at all. If I have any police contact, it's because I'm helping the community. some way, form, or fashion. And the thing about this, while I was in prison, I lost my son. I lost relationship with family and friends, and I understand how your actions affect others. That's the biggest thing about this. Whatever you do affects somebody. My victims that I had issues. That because of my actions, I have paid them back. And right now, my goal right now is legacy, family, community, all the things that when you're out here committing crimes, you're not thinking of that. You're only thinking of self. And now that I've experienced some things in life, I have reestablished my relationship with my kids. I got grandkids now. My whole goal is to be a part of my community, because one thing I do see is this younger generation that's out here right now is because of our actions at people my age, and we got to make a difference. We got to show up. We got to show up in some way, form, and fashion. And I want to thank you guys today, because I know you guys got some questions for me. I'm not going to talk too long, but crime, like, it's been a blessing that because of me committing a crime, my family, my kids, nobody's been in prison, nobody's committed any crimes, and because of my actions, they chose to do different, and that's a blessing.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Before I open it up to questions from the board, could you tell us just a little bit more about the offense that you committed and the details of it? We have the criminal complaint, but we'd love to hear about it in your own words.
My crime was forgery and uttering. And what we were doing is we were find somebody who has had checks. We would duplicate the checks. Then we were going to the banks and cash the checks. And that was basically the offense of my crime. And, for greed, selfish, we can go down a list of all the reasons why, and we'll be here all day. Didn't want to work for it. Wanted the fast way. As we know now, what you get fast, you won't have long.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Other board members, questions? Judge Kremers.
Good morning, sir. So you got off paper in 2018, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And according to our records, you were ordered to pay over $82,000 in restitution.
Correct.
How did you pay that back?
Me and my oldest son, Brandon Linton, we had a car lot called Justice Auto Sales. And we both sold cars together. And my goal was to get back into my community. And we sold enough cars so I can pay off my restitution, because it was a big thing for me to pay back the people who are harmed. And that was a goal when I came home, me and my family, to achieve that goal, and we did.
How many other people were involved in this scheme to write these false checks?
If I can remember correctly, I think it was me and probably about 3 other young ladies that was involved in this crime.
And did any of them pay any of the $82,000 in restitution?
That's a great question. When I researched the banks and tried to, as I did, I paid them back. They couldn't really give me information if somebody paid something back or not. So I got to be honest with you. I think I paid all the restitution for everybody, and I really I don't really understand that, but my goal was to achieve all of paying back my victims, and that's what I did. But I don't even know, because how it looks like I paid all the restitution back.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Other questions? Reverend Hancock.
Can you tell us about Devonta's Helping Inc.?
Devontae's Helping Inc. is a nonprofit organization that I started in honor of my son who passed away in 2007. And that nonprofit is geared toward helping young men and women understand real estate, some way, form, or fashion, from the financial aspect to physical rehabbing to purchasing property. That program has helped several young men and women in our community right now. And that's one of the blessings, I have with working with my elected officials, alderwomen, alderman, police department, to make this program as a success that it is right now.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you very much, Mr. McCoy. I appreciate your time this morning and hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Alexander Barkster. Mr. Barkster.
Good morning. How you guys doing? So yes, my name is Alexander Barkster. I'm here trying to get a pardon. Going back to the questions that you guys have listed, a brief summary of how your offense went and what it was. This happened back in 2014. I was a senior in high school. I believe I was 17 when all this happened. I was charged with misappropriate use of ID to obtain money. I don't like to necessarily lessen or diminish what I did or anything of that nature. But I do strongly believe, maturity and growth as far as a person and a human being has a lot to do with this. Honestly, it was kind of just me, 17, just being stupid and silly, hanging around the wrong crowd, high school, you're around these different personalities, the peer pressure, all of that nature. So, it's just a lot going on at that time. Again, not, everybody still has a conscience, and I knew right from wrong. And, I do accept full responsibility and accountability for my actions. With that, I was sentenced I did 14 days at the Huber work release facility. And then I did 3 years probation from there. And then in 2018, I had all of that expunged. And going on to the second question, a brief summary of what I've done since the completion of my sentence. I took the healthcare route. I went to school. Back in senior year of high school, I took a CNA class. Healthcare was kind of my thing. I'm very passionate about helping people. It really does sound cliche, but I really do enjoy, going home and I can say I actually helped someone. I took a CNA course. I was able to leave school early, take that course and gain a credit. So I became a CNA fresh out of high school. And again, this was while I was on probation. So I was lucky enough to, have that opportunity. And I've been just climbing that clinical ladder ever since then. After being a CNA, I went on to become a dialysis technician. I did that at an outpatient clinic for about 3 years. I was also ordered to pay restitution, and that's how I was able to pay all of that restitution back. I believe it was between $5,000 and $6,000. So I always worked. I was a CNA at a major hospital here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Again, like I said, went on to become a dialysis technician. I did that for 3 years. And then once I got everything expunged, I was able to, I had always wanted to be a nurse or something in medical. But of course, the felony conviction, it didn't allow me to do that. So once I got it expunged, I was able to go to nursing school. I went to Herzing University. They had launched a practical nursing program. So I completed that. That was a 12-month program. So got my felony conviction expunged 2018. Once I got that expunged, I went straight into school that same year. 12 months later, I became a licensed practical nurse, and I continued on with my education. Herzing has a bridge program, so they had an LPN to BSN, a Bachelor of Science in Nursing program. So 2018, started school. 2019 became an LPN. 2019 started that bridge program, and I finished that back in 2022. So I've been working as a registered nurse. I work at Freighter Hospital in the ICU, the neurointensive care unit. And that's kind of what I've been doing ever since then, just helping people in that nature. I'm just that type of guy. The paperwork you see about, the criminal conviction, that is not me at all. I don't even remember who that guy is. He was thrown away a long time ago. I'm a completely different person now. Just been helping people. Like I said, it's my passion. Why do I think I should receive a pardon? I do plan on taking my education even further. Like I said, I'm climbing this clinical ladder. Hopefully I can go. My dream is to become a nurse anesthetist. I feel like I'm almost halfway there. It requires ICU experience. So right now I'm doing that, and eventually, hopefully I can, apply and get accepted into that school. I think the pardon would help push that a little bit more than just the expungement. It just shows a lot more about me, my success and my achievements, and, just how a person can turn their life around all in full. So.
Thank you, Mr. Barkster. We'll open up to see if board members have any other questions for you. Board, Cindy.
Good morning, Mr. Barkster. Congrats on all you've accomplished since the 17-year-old, when you were 17 years old. I do have a question, though. As part of the application process, applicants are encouraged to submit letters of support, and you did not submit any letters of support for your application. Can you tell us why not?
I honestly just, I can say Herzing, that school, it's more of a non-traditional type school. A lot of the instructors, they would leave, come and go. Some weren't there. It's not one of your traditional type schools. So I lost contact with a lot of people. So that, I guess that's like one of the reasons. The other reason is I kind of just felt like I can do this myself, and, continue to push myself. I do have both my living parents, and they've always been behind me and pushed me to continue on. But, majority of everything that I've been through, I caused this, all that money, I paid every penny, every dime of it back by myself. And, I've continued to support myself on my own. So I felt like, I can kind of do this myself. I can present myself like I'm doing now. And even like I do every day while I go to work, I'm presenting myself in a professional manner, and I'm helping people, and I'm, just trying to do the right thing. And, that's how I feel like I turn my life around as well. I'm trying to do the right thing.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Judge Kremers.
It looks like when you were on probation in 2016 and 18, you had some probation violations that you were turned over to your agent for. What was going on then? Yes. Again,
I don't feel that 18 is really like an adult. I feel like, of course, in the law, it's, you're an adult, you're, in my opinion, and even a nursing professional opinion, an 18, 19, even a 20-year-old is not an adult. And I just feel like I still was making dumb decisions. I was still, it didn't really click to me until I think maybe like a year after everything happened, maybe 2 years. Those probation violations, I believe, majority of them were like traffic stops. And then one was, I think maybe like one was like marijuana. Again, young, dumb, I don't do any of those things. I have a, clean driving record as of now. I've worked to kind of, turn that all around as well. It's not a good thing to drive like that. And, it's more so keeping everybody safe, because you're not on the streets alone. You're with everybody else.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Thank you, Mr. Barkster. I think that covers it. Appreciate your time and hope that you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
You appreciate it.
Thank you. Next up, we have Lydell Ashford. Mr. Ashford. Mr. Ashford, are you with us in the Zoom? Okay, perhaps not. We will then move on to Kenneth Egvedt. Mr. Egvedt.
Hold on.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
We can hear you. We can't quite see you yet. Are you able to turn your camera on?
I'm not quite sure. My daughter-in-law is helping me with this.
Okay. We'll try prompting you once here, and if that doesn't work, we can proceed with just the sound.
Okay. She's trying to figure it out now.
It says that it's turned on, but
It
it's not.
says it's turned on,
Okay.
but on my name, it's got the camera with a little red X, and I'm not quite sure why.
It might be a hardware issue. We're happy to proceed with just sound if that's all right with you.
That's fine.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead?
All right. My crime was child support, and at that time, I was giving my ex-wife and my children money, but I wasn't going through the state. That was my fault. And I was going through a hard divorce and made some very bad decisions. I was drinking at that time. I got drunk driving tickets and was not a very good time in my life. Went to prison, got out in 2011, I think, or 2010. And since then, I've done pretty much everything the state wanted. My obligations to my ex-wife, to my children. My children are the most important thing in my life. I have 6 grandchildren, and my family is the utmost important thing in my life. I have satisfied everything. I still give my ex-wife, we're friends, and if she needs any help, I help her out. I help out all my children. I just want to try to make my life back to where it was before my divorce and everything, and all this chaos started. And it was all my fault. So I take responsibility for that. I've been helping my son try to create a business down in De Pere, Wisconsin. I help him. My other son, he contracted a Crohn's disease, so I've been helping him out. So I got hurt in 2017 on the job, so I'm pretty much disabled. And I just kind of want my life back together where I can go hunting with my sons, teach my grandchildren how to be safe with a firearm. Because I used to be a hunter safety instructor before this stuff started. I've been sober now for over 5 years. Well, actually over 6 years. And it's really turned my life around. And that's pretty much all I have.
Thank you.
I've made amends with my father. I've made amends with my children. And that's all I can do. I can't do any more than that. So.
Thank you, Mr. Egvedt.
Okay, thank you.
Why don't I just open up and see if we have any questions from the board? Judge Crummers.
Good morning, sir. So for this case, for this crime, the felony, you got 14 months of confinement and 2 years of extended supervision. So that would have finished in like 2009 or 10, roughly.
Yes.
But I see on here a number of probation violations as late as 2018. What were you on probation for?
That would be a DUI, I believe.
So your fourth offense DUI in 2014?
Yes.
How long were you put on probation for?
I think it was, in fact, I don't even know how long I was on probation. I satisfied that with no police contact. But see, there again, I was drinking and I made some really terrible decisions.
But
And
what was
driving,
okay, so what was the violation in 2018 that you got turned over to the probation authorities for?
I think it was failure to pay the rest of my fine. And I was incarcerated for, I'm not quite sure how long, because that was quite a while ago. But since I was released, I satisfied everything I could satisfy. Money in the money aspect of it. And I've been trying to be clean and sober ever since.
Yeah, because your probation was revoked in 2018.
Yes.
So then you went to jail or prison.
Yeah, I went, I'm not quite sure how long I was incarcerated. But like I said, I've satisfied Vilas County and the state of Wisconsin.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Cindy.
Yes. Good morning, sir. I just want to follow up. In reading the summary of this issue, first of all, you were 45, 46 years old. So
right. I should have known better.
Well, you weren't this is not a youthful indiscretion. And then it looks like you were brought back to court multiple times, found in contempt, given a payment plan. You'd make a payment, you'd leave, and months would go by, you wouldn't pay it again. I mean, the only time you really made agreed upon payments was when you were arrested. You had multiple opportunities to sort of set this right and get back on the right path, including being put on probation for 3 years. And yet you didn't take advantage of those opportunities. Why not?
The alcohol was a big factor in my life. And I wasn't working consistently. And like I said, I made some really terrible decisions.
Yeah. What do you think the impact was? Your boys were what, around 16, 18 years, 14, 16 years old when this was going on. What do you think the impact was on them and their mother for you not making these payments over a long period of time?
See, there again, I was making cash payments to my ex-wife, and if my sons needed anything, I would give them the money. Like I said, I was not going through the state of Wisconsin, and a lot of that is all my fault. My father told me I should have gone through the state and make sure there was a record of me actually paying my ex-wife. And like I said, if my kids needed anything, I would just give them the money. And that was my fault that I didn't go through the state of Wisconsin. For me going to jail all the time, that was my fault. I owned my own business, and with the alcohol problem, that went away. I wasn't working, and I put myself in to a dumper. And it took a long time for me to realize that. And like I said, I've made some terrible mistakes.
Yeah. Okay. I just have a couple other quick questions. For number 7 in the application, you're asked to list any other crimes you've committed, and you listed DUI as the only crime, but you had multiple. You had 2004, 6 counts of misdemeanor worthless checks, 2005, 1 count misdemeanor worthless checks, 2006 misdemeanor possession of THC, 2014, a fourth OWI, which is a crime. None of those are listed. Why didn't you list those?
I'm not quite sure why I didn't list those. I
Okay.
should have, and I'm not quite sure why I didn't.
Okay.
I should have, because I know you guys would go through everything in my record and you would find out anyways.
Yeah.
But if my understanding, the way I'm thinking about it, I was thinking it was the crime that I was asking the pardon for, which was child support. And yes, that was my mistake. I'm sorry. I apologize for that.
That's, and last, you heard me ask a previous applicant this, but you didn't submit any letters of support for your application. Can you tell us why not?
I'm not quite sure what letters I was supposed to get, whether was I supposed to get them from my children, my wife, or my ex-wife.
That's up to the applicant. They get them from neighbors, employers, community service organizations. There's a wide variety of letters that we get from applicants in support of their application. That's up to you, but you didn't submit anything.
That I'm not quite sure why.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Jerry.
Oh, sorry about that.
How long have you been sober?
I've been sober now over 6 years.
And how do you maintain that sobriety?
I do not want to go back to the life I used to have. I want to be clean and sober. I want to be functional for my grandchildren. And if my sons need any help at all, I would rather be sober, because I grew up in northern Wisconsin, and the only thing we had to do in the middle of the winter was go play on the lake and drink beer. And I've been a construction worker all my life, so I'm stereotyping construction workers, we drink. But like I said, I'm clean and sober for the last 6 years, and everybody is happier with me. And my father, I have a relationship with my father now.
But you just do this on your own. You're not part of any group or anything like that.
No, I did this all on my own.
Okay.
And my children can attest to it. And I needed a wake-up call, and my children gave it to me.
Thank you.
Anthony, you had a question?
I just had a question. Did you get any help with your application?
Not really. I asked the people at the clerk of courts in Vilas County if I was doing everything correctly, because that's what I want to do, everything correct. But I tried to fill it out. I filled it out all on my own. I asked the people, and they told me to get a lawyer. At that time, I can't afford a lawyer. So I tried to answer all the questions I could to the best of my ability. And I'm not real good at writing things down. I've been reading a tape measure and building houses all my life. But like I said, I just want to make sure I do things correctly now. And I've tried to satisfy everybody I could and can.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Thank you, Mr. Egvedt. I appreciate your time, and hope that you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Thank you very much.
Do we have Mr. Ashford in the Zoom? Lydell Ashford. Still not seeing Mr. Ashford, so we will move on to Toby Shrier. Mr. Shrier?
All right, sorry, there we go. kind of hard to have big fingers like. So, in 2004, I was convicted of felony non-payment of child support, and Judge Stork gave me two choices. I could sit 5 flat and be done with it here in Wisconsin, or he would allow me to have 5 years probation, and I could move back down to Texas where I was living at the time. My wife at the time was pregnant with our son, and I didn't want him to know daddy through bars. So I went back down to Texas. Stumbled and failed ever since then. But I kept trying no matter what, because what had got me to commit the offenses was that I felt sorry for myself, got into alcoholism. It took a hold of my life. I thought I could run and hide from my problems at the bottom of a bottle or a can or a combination thereof. And then, it was a bit of a wake-up call. Have I made mistakes since? Absolutely. But I finally surrounded myself with the right group of people, with the Military Veterans Motorcycle Association, being more involved in the community and helping veterans that are with one ride at a time and different fundraising events. 3 out of the last 4 years.
Excuse me, I apologize. I'm missing part of because it keeps freezing. I don't know if it's freezing for others.
Oh, Noble, I think it's on your end because you're frozen for us right now. Oh, there, you seem better. Can you hear me all right? Okay, Noble, if you can hear me, you may need to try reconnecting. Although now you look unfrozen again on my end. Okay, I think he's going to try reconnecting. Mr. Shrier, you can continue.
Okay. 3 out of the last 4 years, I've helped a really good friend of mine, Dave Redeman, over at his police training institute. Would have been 4 out of the last 4 years, but I wasn't able to make it this year. Where we help train police officers to be better undercover officers, or at least get them introduced to being undercover officers in his advanced course. I would try and fail, but I refuse to let myself be like I was in my younger days, feeling sorry for myself. Oh, I got a felony. Oh, feel sorry for. No, I don't play that game anymore. At first, I did. I had an opportunity when Judge Stork released me, cleared me on paper back in 2009 to get back into the Army, and everything else was going good, but the felony kept coming back to bite me, which, again, I made the decision. It wasn't a group of people I hung around or whatever. Life is about choices, and I made bad choices. And now, since my involvement with the Police Training Institute, I've had several law enforcement officers ask me about coming to work at their departments: Milwaukee PD, Fond du Lac County, Berlin, and even about going back into corrections. But I cannot at this time because I haven't been blessed with a pardon. And it's in my nature to serve others, put their needs above my own, because I'll take care of myself as I need to. And I'm getting help now with my PTSD through the VA, and my health issues are being handled by the VA as well. And my plan is, as soon as I'm blessed, not trying to be presumptive, but got to be positive in my thinking. that once I am blessed with the pardon, that day or as soon as I can, hit up the DOC office in Madison and say, hey, can we get this going? Here's what I've got. Because that's all that's holding me up right now.
Thank you, Mr. Shrier. We'll open up to questions from the board. Cindy?
Good morning, Mr. Shrier. You mentioned corrections, and in your application, you said you worked as a CO for a year. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's not on your employment list in your application? Where
that was a brain freeze. That was so long ago. I didn't know. It's just a brain freeze. I can't make excuses for it. That's not an excuse. I don't believe in excuses, but explanations.
That's fine. I'm just where and when did you do this?
Oh,
work?
I'm sorry. I'm a little nervous. Couldn't tell.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. A little nervous.
Take a deep breath.
It was in 91, 92. I graduated in June of 91. Worked a job before that when the process was, as you know, much longer with the civil service exam and going to it would take months instead of just a couple of weeks. I went and attended the academy here in Oshkosh, which is not far from where I live now. I did my OJT at Columbia Correctional over in Portage. And then my duty station was at in Sturtevant.
Okay.
Racing Correctional.
Okay. And you left after a year?
Yes, ma'am. Again, that was something where I let the alcohol take over. It ruined that career. But you know, there are those that might have doubts. So what makes you think you're not going to slip back into it? One, if I thought then like I do now, no offense, ma'am, but we wouldn't be talking.
Yeah.
I would have made better choices, but coulda, woulda, shoulda. And 53 years old, it's time to grow up.
Can you talk about, if I'm correct, your son would have been between 9 and 12 years old when you weren't making these child support payments? Is that pretty close?
Let's see. It would have been, let's see, 2004. Yeah, about 12. I had to think, because he just turned 34 Wednesday.
Okay. Can you talk about what the impact was on him and his mother in not receiving necessary funding for things he needed?
It was an extreme burden on them. I didn't man up to my responsibilities. And it just made it harder on my son's mother because then she had to pick up my slack. That shouldn't have been there. And it impacted her family because, you know, she was very young and as was I. And they would have to help her as well to pick up my slack. And that wasn't right. Took me a long time to realize that. And again, no one to blame but myself, because as I stated a minute ago, life's about choices. And I made a lot of poor choices. And since then, yeah, I stumble and I fall, but I keep trying to get back up. And sorry.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Judge Cromers.
I have two. So you paid back $56,000 in restitution?
No, sir. That was part of it, but because there's a lot more with the compounding interest, and as far as Judge Stork is concerned, I had done enough to be released from paper, and we were hoping, and it was the thought that I would be able to get back in the military and get that momentum going again, but my felony prevented me from ultimately from going in.
So you didn't pay $56,000 in restitution?
No, sir.
How much did you pay?
I was paying let's see, $200 in arrears plus what was it? Another 200, I believe it was, in the principal. I'm not sure of the word to use. Again, having a brain.
Okay, so your the mother of your son, in fact, never got the money that you were supposed to give her.
Not all of it, no.
Okay. And then it looks like you were arrested several times for domestic violence in the early 2000s. What was that about?
My youngest son's mother would call the police on me because, oh, I'm a convicted felon. So her thought process was, oh, they're going to take me to jail because I'm a convicted felon right off the bat. And Conroe Police Department said they weren't going in Texas. Conroe Police Department said they weren't going to charge me with anything, just kind of a timeout as it were. I was never charged or convicted of domestic violence.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Reverend Hancock?
What is your relationship with your son today?
Unfortunately, Reverend, I destroyed it. I swore to myself I wasn't going to become what my biological father was, and I wound up being just that. He's severely autistic. He will never leave home, leave his mom's house. And because of the damage I've caused, he doesn't really know me.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Mr. Char, you may have mentioned this. I'm sorry if I missed it, but you talked several times about the impact of alcohol in your life and the bad choices that it led to you. Are you sober now?
Yes, ma'am.
For how long?
Been 10 years or more.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate it and hope that you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
All right, thank you.
All right, our next applicant is Michelle Arellano. Ms. Arellano, I know I saw you. There you are.
Good morning. I have something prepared that I've been working on. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. I come before you with deep humility and sincere heart, asking for a chance to close a chapter in my life that I deeply regret. In 2009, I made a terrible decision that changed the course of my life. I used somebody else's credit card. And, I paid a lot of bills at that time. I used it to pay a lot of my son's school expenses. I had many years of going back and forth with my ex-husband in court and out of court for him to pay his half of the expenses, which he was court ordered to do so in our divorce decree. However, every time I went to court, they'd verbally tell him, but it just never actually happened. At that time, I was also an active alcoholic. My thinking was clouded and I fell apart. I take full responsibility for my actions. There is no excuse for what I did. This was my first and only offense. But it does not lessen the harm that I caused. I hurt not only the person whose identity I stole, but also hurt and embarrassed my two sons who were teenagers at the time. And that's a pain, that I will always carry. Since that time, I have worked to change the person that I am. I have always had employment. However, with the alcoholism, it was come and go. Sometimes I had worked as in the medical field in CNA work. I'm sorry. Sometimes I get brain fog. I had a accident in 2022, which I'll get to. And I was a restaurant manager for a chop house when I lived up north in the Eau Claire and Chippewa Falls area. For the last 2.5 years, I have been sober. Like I said, in 2022, I suffered a traumatic brain injury after falling on the ice. I was off work for 2.5 years, actually 2 years, where I went through speech therapy, light therapy, and a lot of physical therapy, which occasionally will still sneak up on me, and I'll have to go mostly for back pain that will lead into my shoulder. I still experience severe migraines, which I'm on medication and Botox for. But I have gotten myself back into work. I started here at the Milwaukee airport in this past November, where I worked for Menzies Aviation for the charter season. And then in April, I found that Alaska Airlines was hiring. So I got hired over to Alaska Airlines. I'm here today asking for a pardon so I can put this felony behind me and move forward in this. Blessed, very blessed to be alive. Second half of my life. I would like to move on to different parts of the airport here, for example, TSA, but I do need at least a pardon to move that or to move forward in that. I can't undo my crime, but I can and will continue to live in a way that honors the lessons I've learned. I won't forget what I've done and what I've even put myself through. But I am deeply sorry for it. And I am looking forward to possibly your consideration with receiving the pardon.
Thank you, Ms. Arellano. Questions from the board? Jerry.
Ms. Arellano, I have several questions, but let me just say this, that I want to ask you about the crime. And I realize that because of your brain injury, you may have some difficulty answering these questions, but I want to ask them anyway.
Okay.
We hear a lot of cases about stolen credit cards.
Yes.
Your case was very different because you were working in the jail.
Yes.
And you stole the credit card and jewelry from an inmate in the jail.
Yes.
How long had you been working at the jail?
In that jail, it was the Menominee, Wisconsin. I think I had worked there. I know my whole career in corrections was about 10, 11 years. I think in Menominee, I worked about 2.5. I'm not 100%, and I apologize for that.
Okay, that I understand. But what was your job in the jail? Were you a deputy or were you a matron? What was
a corrections officer?
Okay, and you've been doing that for several years.
Correct.
Okay, and why did you decide? what was it about this inmate that made you decide to steal her credit card and her jewelry?
I don't think it was a particular person. I just came across it. And at that time, it was just that one that I took. The jewelry, I gave that back. I don't know why I put that in my pocket, because it was just the credit card that I had intended to use.
And how did you come across the credit card and the jewelry?
I believe she may had just recently get booked into the jail.
Okay.
And that was why I came across it. It was in her property.
Okay. And you were responsible for her care and keeping track of her property, right?
Yes, I was.
And how do you think she felt about having you steal her credit card and her jewelry when she was completely under your control?
Like she couldn't trust any other correctional officers, I'm sure. I didn't have a chance to face-to-face speak to her. I did write her a letter, but I'm sure it was a huge letdown to have to be incarcerated there, and then have somebody it's been sworn to take care of you break the law.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Cindy.
Yeah. You may have heard me ask a previous applicant this, but you did not submit any letters of support for your application. Can you tell us why not?
I did hear you ask previously, and that did send me in quite a panic attack. This is the second time I had applied. I don't know where my letters had went to. And I didn't hear back at all from the previous application, so I don't know if that was on me. But this second time around, I guess I didn't even think about that part. I just submitted and put everything in the manila envelope, and I guess I didn't include that.
But in your application, when it asked if you ever applied for a pardon before, you checked the box no.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I honestly thought that I checked yes and put the date in.
No, I have your application right here. Question 6, have you ever applied for a pardon before? The box is checked no, and there's no date.
Okay. I had applied prior to moving to Milwaukee, or right before I did, and that was in 2023, January. Actually, I was still living in Chippewa Falls, and I thought maybe because of all my address changes that it may have gotten lost. I had tried to reach out to Madison, but I didn't get through anywhere, so I just decided to reapply.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Ms. Arellano, I just want to note that the application we have in front of us is dated 2023. So I think that is the application that you're talking about. Understand there is quite a delay between folks applying and then generally getting to a hearing. So that is the application that we have.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for your time this morning. We appreciate it. And since there are no other questions, we'll let you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Arlon Crawford. Ms. Crawford.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Guys are kind of got me nervous listening to other people. Okay.
It's very normal to be nervous. Take a deep breath.
Okay.
We'll get through it.
Okay. My name is Arlon Crawford. Okay, and I'm just gonna read the letter that I prepared. Okay. So I'm seeking consideration for a pardon for my forgery uttering charges with the case numbers. So you guys have the case numbers, I'm sorry. And the dates. Both Class C felonies. These crimes were committed 20 plus years ago, and my past behavior is not a true reflection of the mature, sensible, law-abiding, and productive member of society that I've evolved into as of present day. My charges occurred when I was younger and kind of, I guess you would say, I'm sorry. Oh God, my phone. Okay, you would say, just inexperienced. I mean, I guess I would say I was inexperienced with life regarding my upbringing. You know, I was not exposed to really any positive or, influential people. I was raised in an environment that kind of just consisted of daily criminal activities that I was subjected to, such as, being raised in a drug house, prostitution, frequent, just incarceration of caregivers, and being a child of parents who, were leaders of a forgery ring, basically. And I don't want to, come off as making any excuse for my behavior. In no way are these my, intentions. I simply just stated my backstory. As a direct result of these shortcomings, I unfortunately followed the footsteps of many family members of mine. I often sought opportunities for quick and easy cash during that time in my life. I didn't have the knowledge, discipline, or willpower to resist the temptations that were being placed before me. I made horrible life-changing choices that led me down the wrong path and ultimately took away my freedom. Being incarcerated forced me to slow, literally this way. This was also a time for reflection. It gave me the necessary time to think about the poor choices that I've made in life and that landed me in prison. I often thought about, how not only did I fail myself, but felt as though I traumatized and failed my children as well. I took myself away from them for over 2 years, which was very crucial time in their child development stages of life. I feel as though I've paid my debt to society physically and financially. I've satisfied my physical commitment of confinement as well as having paid my court ordered out restitution. I would like to regain my sense of normalcy. Oh my God, I can't even say it, but I mean, being normal within my life. I would like to continue to take college courses and eventually obtain my degree in human services. I would also love to open a adult family home that services clients living with mental health illnesses. And I really would love to accomplish these goals without the felonies hanging over my head. It's been 20 plus years since my crimes were committed. Since that day, those crimes have been committed, no additional crimes have been committed. I haven't engaged in any or affiliated with any known criminals apart from my immediate family, that some of them were actually, we were on the case together. At the time of the crimes, I was a single mother with 4 small children, all under the age of 8 years old. My children are now adults. With all have graduated high school. I have one who completed college and went on to be a registered nurse due to, me being able to assist her with that in 2018. Since my release, I've not only maintained stability within my home for my children, I've also become a licensed foster parent, as I've provided love and emotional support and shelter for several kids throughout the years. Children in my care remain safe and protected until reunification occurs, if applicable, with their biological parents. In August of 22, I was honored and granted the opportunity to adopt my son Elijah, one of the kids I fostered. Since my release, I remain gainfully employed, mostly working with individuals living with mental illness. This is where my passion lies. So many people who I've crossed paths with struggle with mental illness, find themselves faced with homelessness, lack of access to mental and or healthcare needs, and overall maltreatment from people who vow to provide care for them. This is where the root of my fuel desire to own and operate my own adult family home comes from. I'm sorry, this is just nervous. I've also regularly seen trained professionals for generalized counseling and also address my issues, childhood trauma from PTSD from 2018 to 2022. And I volunteered at the Caesar Chopra and the Zamaker funeral home as a funeral home hostess greeter, which and for funerals I would greet people that sometimes they would have kids who, the moms or the family would just want me to take the kids off so they're not really right, and then I also, with the funeral, they would give homeless, we would serve the homeless the meals and stuff like that and give them clothes and stuff like that. So I did that. But then I kept myself busy working full time and fostering 3 young children, in addition to making a valid effort to attend, the religious services on a regular. But in conclusion, being granted a pardon would allow my dreams of owning and operating an adult family home to come to full life. And as previously stated, this is a passion of mine, to be voiced, to be able to provide a safe environment for individuals affected with mental illness, and not only to live in, but also thrive. And I hope that I was able to articulate through my writing on how much growth I've accomplished throughout the years. A pardon would undoubtedly change my life for the better. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for consideration regarding this matter. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Crawford.
Okay.
I appreciate it. You made it. Let's just see if there are any questions that weren't covered by your statement.
Okay.
Jerry.
Just quickly, the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office reviewed your pardon application.
Yes.
And it'll be up to the governor to decide your pardon, but the DA's office supports your application. Yes. How does that make you feel?
It made me feel great because, when you're doing things that you actually should know better than what you're doing, and the DA is representing the state, in your mind, they're your enemy, even though you're doing things that you had no business doing. So they're just doing a job. And so for me to receive that letter saying that they supported that made me feel great, because seeing that I, not the person I was in 2002, 2003, it made me feel great. They see that I'm, could possibly be a changed person, and they, support me, receiving a pardon.
Good. Thank you.
Cindy.
Yeah. Ms. Crawford, thank you for submitting the letters of support that you
Okay.
did, because they helped us see, for example, the community service you provide, volunteering at the funeral home. And so it gave us a fuller picture of your life now. And that's very helpful to us as we review these. And also your letter, which we had that you read. I just was really impressed with your understanding and acknowledgement of the impact on your kids
Yeah.
and the insight you had on that and being able to share that with us. So this isn't always the easiest forum to do those things, but thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? All right. Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Crawford. Appreciate your time today and hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Thank you. You guys do the same.
Thank you. And our last scheduled applicant of the morning session is Kelly Lawler. Ms. Lawler? Lawler.
Lawler, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for this opportunity. The offenses I'm seeking a pardon for are 2 counts of obtaining a controlled substance by fraud. This occurred back in 2001 during the height of the beginning of the opioid crisis, which I was being taken care of by a doctor who, over time, I became dependent on the medication. I'm not sure I'm not making excuses for what I did, because obtaining these by fraud was my decision, my fault. And I didn't even bring up in court the reason why I did what I did. But this doctor, I found out 8 years after my conviction, was doing the same thing that he did to me. He was getting women dependent on these medications, and then he lost his medical license. I don't know if I put this in my record, but I wasn't this patient that sued him, but he got sued for alleged sexual contact with female patients. He would get them addicted to this medication and then demand things of them, and I refused. And I do have his paperwork where he lost his medical license and he lost his license to prescribe. But I found all this out after 8 years after my conviction, not making excuses for it, but I just wanted to get away from him, and I made a really bad choice. So since my sentence went great. I went to AODA treatment. I paid all my restitution. I did community service. I did 5 years probation. And it all went really well. I learned a lot. And then since the completion, I worked up until 2012. And then I quit my job. My husband was a lot older than me. He's a veteran. And I wanted to go quickly to get a 2-year degree and then get back into the workforce so I could make more money, because I was the main breadwinner of the family, of my husband and I. And 2 weeks before my college graduation, I was found unconscious on the bathroom floor. And I woke up in the ICU at Freighter Hospital in liver failure, kidney failure. And so I basically, in January 2015, I should have graduated, but I was in the hospital at that time. And in 2017, I was put on permanent disability and have been ever since. Although I've gained a lot of my health back since then, through natural methods. I take no medications. I'm so paranoid about anybody giving me anything. I don't want to get hooked on anything. But I am a disability, but I'm well enough where I feel I can get back into the workforce, at least part-time, and give it a try. And the reason I need to do that is my husband passed away. I was his caretaker all during my disability, and he passed away in December of 2021. And now I'm kind of on my own with no family, no children, no help. And living on my disability check, I'm barely getting by. And the reason I want this pardon is to be able to gain employment, since I've had such a big gap in my resume, being on disability and gaining my health back all these years. And also, I'm worried about my future, being alone. I've heard stories about people who are felons that maybe can't, can't get rent, or let's say I'm a senior and I need senior housing or rental assistance. I don't know if that's true or not, but I worry that my felonies are going to hold me back from any services I may need as I continue to get older. I'm 60 years old now. And I guess that's about it. Any questions?
Thank you. Board members, any questions? Seeing none, I think that covers it then, Ms. Lawler. Thank you for your time and hope that you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we will do one last call for Lydell Ashford. Mr. Ashford, are you with us in the Zoom? Okay, not seeing Mr. Ashford. So that was the last applicant of our first morning session. We will go ahead and take just a 4-minute break in order to stay compliant with our open meetings notice. So we won't start the second morning session until 10 o'clock. Board members, please keep in mind that I'm going to keep the stream live. So please turn off your cameras and mute yourselves if you're going to grab some coffee or something like that. Everyone else will see you back here at 10. Okay, it is 10 o'clock, so we will bring our board members back together and get started with our second morning session shortly. All right, looks like we have most people back. Good morning, everyone. If you were not with us at the beginning of the day, my name is Mel Barnes. I'm the governor's chief legal counsel and chair of his pardon advisory board. I'm going to quickly introduce my fellow board members, go through a couple of housekeeping notes about how the hearing will work, and then we will dive right into hearing from all of you. So with us on the Zoom today, I have fellow board members Myrna Warrington, who is the Director of Vocational Rehabilitation Services on the Menominee Indian Reservation. She is a U.S. Army veteran and has been a member of the Menominee Tribal Legislature for over 15 years. We have board member Anthony Cooper Sr., who is the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Reentry Services for Nehemiah Center for Urban Leadership Development. He is also the CEO of Focused Interruption, and he received a pardon from Governor Evers in January of 2021. We have board member Judge Jeffrey Kremers, who is AG Call's appointee to this board. He served as Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge for 26 years, including serving as chief judge for 7 of those years before retiring in 2018. We have board member Reverend Jerry Hancock, who is the director of the Prison Ministry Project. He previously served as a public defender, a deputy district attorney, and as an administrator for the Department of Justice's Division of Law Enforcement Services. And we have board member Cindy O'Donnell, who served as the deputy secretary of the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle. She also served as a division administrator under Attorneys General Lautenschlager and Van Hollen. And finally, we have board member Noble Ray, who served with the Madison Police Department for almost 28 years and served as chief of police for Madison from 2004 to 2013. He led the U.S. Justice Department's Policing Practices and Accountability Initiative and currently provides racial bias training for law enforcement agencies around the nation and the world. I'll go through just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started hearing from all of you. The first is, please keep in mind that today's hearing is being live streamed via Wisconsin Eye and YouTube. So we'll ask you to keep yourself muted and your cameras off until it is your turn to be heard by the board. That way we can ensure we have good audio for everyone and we can focus on the person who is presenting. We will hear from folks in the order that is listed in the agenda and open meetings notice, but if you do have any issues with the Zoom, technology isn't cooperating, don't worry, we can come back to you if it's not working when it is your turn to be heard. And then each applicant will have about 5 minutes with the board total. We'll ask you to spend the first 3 of those minutes speaking to the questions that were sent to you in advance. As a reminder, that is to please provide us with a brief summary of the offense you're seeking a pardon for and how your sentence went. We're not here to retry the crime. We just want to hear from you in your own words what happened. Second, to provide us with a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence. Community involvement, employment, essentially how your life is different now than the time of the offense. And third, finally, a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. After you speak to those for about 3 minutes, we will open it up to any other questions from the board. Don't read too much into it either way. If we do or do not have questions, we do have all your application materials, which, as you know, are quite lengthy, and we've spent a lot of time with those, so everything might just be covered there. Once the board is done asking you any questions, though, you are welcome to sign off and leave the Zoom hearing. Once everyone is heard, the board will meet in closed session and decide whether or not to recommend your application to the governor. You need a majority support of board members present in order to have your application sent on to him, and the governor will then make a final decision on whether or not to grant you a pardon. Either way, you'll hear about the outcome of today's hearing in about a month to 2 months from today. We know you've been really patient just to get to this point, and thank you for that little bit further patience so that we can get a good recommendation to the governor. With that, we will go ahead and get started with our first applicant of the second morning session, which is Deone Ward. Mr. Ward, do we have you in the Zoom with us? Okay. I do not
Yes,
see Mr.
can you hear me?
We can. We cannot see you yet. Are you able to turn on your camera? Mr. Ward?
Can you see me now, ma'am?
We can hear you. Still no video? We'll try prompting you to turn it on and see if that helps.
Okay. How about now?
There we go. Yeah, if you can
Okay.
maybe just
Sorry about that.
tilt your computer a little bit. It's very bright behind you, so I don't think we're getting a great.
Is that fine, ma'am?
You're still honestly a little backlit. Can you tilt it all?
How about now?
That is significantly better. Perfect.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's great. We'll turn it over to you.
Okay. My name is Deone Ward. 51 years old, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. My crimes back in the 1990s, had a couple drug convictions for deliveries. Basically, I was young and dumb and thought selling drugs was the only way to make money or to, get school clothes or whatever I needed. Since then, I've been working 30 years, no police contacts or convictions since 1990s. Been holding down a permanent job for the last 25 to 30 years, staying out of trouble and basically just trying to live a good life. I pride myself on talking to the youth and trying to tell them that it's all about decision making and making better choices. It's always a better choice that you can make, and I realized the dumb choices that I made in my younger years. And now that I'm older, I realize that my constitutional rights, which I'm trying to get back now, is very important because it's hindered me from a lot of things, and basically I appreciate you guys giving me this opportunity. And like I said, I basically learned my lesson. I've been to prison one time in the 1990s, and I haven't been back since, and haven't been convicted of any crimes or been to jail since. So I basically was a one time, one and done, and I learned my lesson, and I'm 30 years later, here I am, and I'm trying to get my constitutional rights back.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. We'll open up to questions from the board. Judge Cremers.
Good morning, sir. I've got a few questions. First, you had looks like an unsatisfied unemployment warrant issued in 2016 for $7,700. What was that about?
Yes, sir. When I obtained employment, I didn't let unemployment know right away that I got that I had employment because I was working through a temporary service and I didn't know if the job would become permanent. And I thought that they would find out automatically and stop. And so I'm in the process now. I filed Chapter 13 and I'm paying that money back to try to make that right.
Well, Chapter 13 is a form of bankruptcy.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that was sort of leads into my other question. Looks like you filed for bankruptcy in 2015, 16, 17, 22, 23, and 24. What's going on?
Yes, because it was miscommunication with me and the attorneys about the certain paperwork and things that I needed to stay qualified. And I had change of addresses back then, and I didn't get the notifications in time. So I had to refile a couple times, but now I'm currently into one, and it's been about almost 2 years now that I've been keeping up with it.
And do you have other major debts besides the warrant for unemployment compensation?
Basically just back taxes and bills and debt.
Okay. So the other question I have is you characterize it as one and done, but actually you're applying for a pardon of 4 felonies, 1 from 94, 2 from 96, and a third one from 2000. So
yeah.
why do you, I'm sorry?
Pardon me, sir. When I said one and done, I meant to prison. That's what I was referring to.
Okay, sorry.
I've been to prison one time in the 90s, and that was it for me. That's what I was referring to. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. It's my misunderstanding. But I am curious as to, so you get caught in 94, you get probation, and then you go 2 years later, even a more serious form of it, the dealing, and now you have a firearm, and then 4 years later you get caught again. Why do you think you didn't get the message sooner? I mean, you were in your 30s when all this happened, so it wasn't like you were a 17-year-old still maturing, but why did it take so long for you to figure this out?
Actually, sir, I was in my lower 20s. This was in the early 90s, 30 years ago.
Oh, is this
Judge Kremers, I apologize. That was an error in an earlier version of the summary memo. That's on us. Yeah.
Sorry.
I committed most of my crimes from my late teen years to my early 20s.
Got it. All right. I didn't do the math, so
no problem.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Cindy.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Ward.
Good morning.
You did not submit any letters of support with your application, and although not required, they can be very helpful for the board. Can you tell us why you did not?
Yeah. Well, I was basically going on my track record and showing you guys that, for the last 25 to 30 years that I've, been on the straight and narrow for the most part, and that I've been trying to live a productive and clean life, being a law-abiding citizen. I thought that my track record and the attorney or paralegal that advised me, let me know that, my criteria and everything fit and should weigh heavily. I didn't think that I really needed it, but I understand that it could have helped a lot. But I was basically just going off of my track record as far as the last 30 years.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from the board? I just wanted to follow up, Mr. Ward, on the question about the unemployment repayment. You said you were in the process of paying it back, but also filing bankruptcy. Are you currently making payments towards that $7,780, or do you know how much of it you've paid?
Yes, ma'am. My chapter 13 is that's included on it because I was actually being garnished by the unemployment insurance. So that is all included in my chapter 13.
Do you have an idea of how much of it you've paid back through garnishment, though?
Not right offhand, but I think that I should be at least halfway through that because I've been on this chapter 13 case for almost 2 years now. So I don't know how the attorney pays, whoever the way they do it. So I don't know who gets it first.
That's fine. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Thank you, Mr. Ward. I think that covers it then.
One quick one. And I apologize. I've been having some technical difficulties hearing. So if this question has been asked, I do apologize. Mr. Ward, how could you receiving a pardon help you?
Sir, it can help me in a lot of ways. As far as applying for different licenses, as far as helping me grow with work and career, advancement, and just open up a lot of different areas for me in life that I can advance in, because having felonies, sometimes you are judged by your past, and, a lot of things that I apply for, I try to get, is not based off of how I'm living now. So it's based off of my past. So that's a big issue with me also. And as far as moving forward, as far as my future ventures in life, I think it would be very helpful.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. I think that covers it from us then. Appreciate your time this morning and hope that you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you again.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. Raone Sloan. Mr. Sloan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great. First off, I'd like to say good morning to the committee members and thanks for having me today to speak about this pardon. First and foremost, I would like to acknowledge full accountability for all of my past convictions and past actions in the community and whatnot. And I'm applying for a pardon today for a criminal history that dates back over 30 years. My first conviction was in 1995. I was convicted for an armed bank robbery. In 2003, I had another conviction for felon in possession of a firearm. 2008, I had a possession of a controlled substance with intent to deliver. During my last incarceration in 2009, I was revocated and sentenced and sent to the challenge incarceration program. I realized the damage that I had done, not only to myself, but to the people that care most about me. That realization pushed me to start writing while I was incarcerated. Those writings became the foundation of who I am today, and it was the beginning of my transformation. In 2009, after I entered the challenge incarceration program, I completed that and was released in 2010. I was fully discharged from extended supervision in 2014, and since then, I've worked every single day to become a positive force in my community. Over the last 15 years, I've spoken at reentry programs and correctional institutions, sharing my story with both federal and state inmates to show them a different path. I've become a licensed real estate agent in Wisconsin, and I've been an agent since 2016. I also, in 2016, launched my production company, Swift Motion Pictures, which we contract 50 to 100 creative individuals per project for each film. We produced over 13 full feature films and TV series, many of which are streaming on national and major platforms. Our productions have created real opportunities for aspiring actors, writers, and technicians in Wisconsin. We're now leading the charge for film tax incentives in the state with my work on the steering committee of Action Wisconsin. I also created the Swift Motion Pictures Movie Mastery course, where we teach students and adults how to professionally produce films. In partnership with No Studios, we've hosted special course classes for youths as well. As to why I believe I should be granted a pardon, my past did not define who I am today, but it does continue to place unnecessary limitations on my future. These felony convictions create invisible barriers that restrict my ability to grow, especially in areas of international travel, and to create global partnerships and business opportunities. While I've done everything in my power to create value and impact here at home, a pardon would allow me to scale that impact even further without restrictions that still linger from the decisions I made decades ago. In closing, I believe my life today is a very definition of rehabilitation. I've turned my pain into purpose, and I've poured that purpose back into my community. This pardon isn't just about clearing my name, it's about unlocking even more opportunities to do good, build more, and to help others see that redemption is real. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Sloan. Questions from the board for Mr. Sloan? Cindy?
Good morning, Mr. Sloan. You
Morning.
may have heard me ask a previous applicant this, but you did not submit any letters of support with your application. And you've achieved quite a bit. It seems like there could have been some people that would have been happy to write letters on your behalf, but can you tell us why you didn't?
Ma'am, so I did indeed submit letters of support. So I was working with a company called Clean Slate MKE, and I submitted these letters to her. So I don't know. She initially started my application process and helped me with everything. So I was under the impression that these letters were submitted. I don't. That part of it she handled, and then I started to talk to the board after the application was submitted.
Okay. We don't have them, but
I'm sorry.
I believe what you've told me, so thank you for the explanation.
Thank you.
Gary?
The Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office reviewed your application for a pardon. Now, it'll be up to the governor to grant you a pardon, but how does their support make you feel?
Wow. Well, I didn't know that the Milwaukee District Attorney's Office supported my pardon, but that feels great, Mr. Hancock. It feels good to know that that people are seeing the impact that I'm making in the community and also within myself, and they're also seeing that I'm doing my best to not only continue to walk in the right light that I'm supposed to, but also showing others. So that's great, and I really appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you.
Anthony?
Hello, Mr. Sloan. Even though I don't know you personally, but definitely familiar with your work that we've done throughout Milwaukee in particularly. Just wanted to say, as someone who has been pardoned, but then also as you continue to go forward, just know that people really admire the work that you've done and the way that you've been able to champion the things and to be able to just create different opportunities for people. So I just wanted to make sure that that's being said from someone who has navigated different spaces throughout Madison, Milwaukee, and throughout our state. Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure you know that people are looking up to you in that way as well. So thank you.
I really appreciate that, Mr. Cooper.
Other questions from the board? Judge Kremers.
So if I have the chronology correct, you, in 1994, when you were 17-ish, you went to prison for 10 years for the armed robbery, right?
Yes, sir.
And then you get out, and almost immediately you get arrested for the possession of a firearm by a felon and the drug trafficking charge. I'm sorry, I guess it was just the felon in possession of a firearm charge, right?
Yes.
And then you went back to, you got 20 months of confinement. So that gets you out, and then 2 years of extended supervision. So you get all done with that in about 2007, and then you have the last one, the drug trafficking charge. So why do you think it took you that long to stop this string of criminal activity, and what turned it around for you?
Well, Mr. Kremers, that's a great question. And, I thought about that a lot over the years. And I would say that the best answer I can give you, sir, is that, it's engineering. And mentally, where I was at that place in my life, I came home from prison after the first incarceration after doing 5.5 years. And, you put yourself in these same environments. You put yourself in these same environments around these same individuals, and you don't have a plan. I didn't have a plan. So that led me back to the crime and around the same crowd that I was committing crimes with before, and I was still a young man, 22 years old. So I continued to make those mistakes until I had my first son. And that was a turning point in my life when I went to the challenge incarceration program, and I went to prison that last time. And me being in there is I just want to share something with the board about people who choose to be involved with a life of crime. These are choices that people make consciously, and a lot of people won't admit it, but they're willing to accept the consequences, whatever comes with it. They people tell themselves, and I told myself that if I went to prison, this is what comes with it. If I die, this is what comes with it. But as you continue to grow as an individual, you learn and become a man and say that way of thinking, number one, is ridiculous. You're hurting so many people by living this way of life that doesn't help you, it don't help the community. In the end, everybody end up losing. So I'm glad you asked me that question, and it's a very valid question. And I just think that I try to get a lot of young men and women to understand that you have to get past that way of thinking, because it's a thought process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Sloan? No. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sloan. Appreciate your time this morning, and hope that you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Thank you all. You too.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Timothy Arshambo. Mr. Arshambo?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent. There we go.
So my name is Tim Arshambo, and my crimes are burglary in 94, worthless checks in 98, and felony theft in 2002. The last time I got in trouble, I got sentenced to prison, and I was given the opportunity to go through the CIP program, the Challenge Incarceration Program, which was intensive AODA counseling and just basically like schooling, and it was a life-changing event for me. Since the completion of my sentence, so July 3rd of this year, I celebrated 21 years clean and sober. I'm very involved with the recovering community in my area with Drug Corp. I try to speak at treatment centers to try to show people that there's a better way of living. I spent my 20s trying to do all the wrong things to fit in with all the wrong people. And one of the things that they pounded in our heads in treatment was to change your people, places, and things. So when I got out of treatment, I just did that. I changed my people, places, and things. And I am self-employed. I own a motorcycle shop. I do custom motorcycle work. I have for probably the last 10 years. I have went back to college. I have a mechanical design degree and a CNC technical diploma, I guess it's called, and a welding technical diploma. So about why I think I should get a pardon. In the last 22 years, the only thing that I've ever gotten in trouble for was a speeding ticket. I'm a productive member of society now. I try to give back where I can. I go to church on Sundays. My daughter is in the Scouts. I would like to be more involved with that. I also work part-time in the wintertime for the township that I live in, and I would like to run for the board for the township, and I can't do that with a felony on my record. I don't know. I think that answers about everything.
Sounds good, Mr. Arshambo. We'll open it up and see if the board has any other questions for you. Board members? Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Arshambo, do you shoot skeet?
What's that?
Do you shoot skeet?
Do I shoot skeet?
Yes. Do you belong to a shooting club?
Well, the Viking Bow and Gun Club, I shoot bows.
Okay, but no firearms.
No.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions from the board? Cindy.
Good morning, sir. Your crimes were all financially related. And it looks like when you discharged from probation, you still owed almost $2,500 in restitution. Have you paid that back?
To my knowledge, all of my everything is paid for. I think it was like $18,000 in back child support. That's all been paid for. To my knowledge, I don't owe any restitution.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Judge Cremers.
Sorry. Still a little bit confused by your answer regarding why you want a pardon or why it would help you. I mean, if somebody, all of your convictions, not just the felonies, but you have numerous, I don't know, 10 convictions or so for misdemeanor things, all related, or most of them related to financial things. If somebody were going to check your background to decide if they were going to, I don't know, loan you money or your business or whatever, they're going to see all those financial mistakes by you. Why is getting a pardon for these little more serious financial things really going to make a difference?
There's some places that I do business with that because of what contracts they have, I don't pass their background check.
I see.
And as soon as they find that out, then things get very sticky between us. And my daughter being in the Scouts, I can't be involved with the troop because I have a felony conviction. And I'd like to be more involved with that and with the actual troop and the stuff that they do.
Okay. And the other question I have is, I want to go back to this restitution thing. At the time you were discharged from probation, you still owed about $2,500. Do you remember paying that back?
So it was probably like 8 years ago. It got added onto my tax bill because I have to pay sales tax every quarter.
Okay.
There was something that got added onto that, and it was restitution that popped up that hadn't been paid for.
Okay. And did you pay it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Thank you, Mr. Arshambo. I appreciate your time with us this morning and hope that you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you, you guys too. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Jonathan Clark. Mr. Clark.
There we go. Helps if I unmute.
Perfect.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Jonathan Clark. I've prepared the following statement. In 2005, myself and two friends broke into multiple places, including a bar. We stole the money, alcohol, and rifle that were part of their raffle. I lured myself into these actions with my desire for easy money, assuming that the owners had insurance and falsely thinking that the only real victim would be some faceless insurance company. Additionally, I saw a friend of mine with no job supporting himself with theft while I was working full-time, 2 jobs at times, and barely paying bills. I was arrested in 2005, and after about a year of back and forth with multiple DAs, I agreed to 5 years probation, which included 4 months jail time with Huber and some community service. After my jail sentence, I violated my probation by drinking and was arrested when I was with a friend who was pulled over for drunk driving in my car. I had a butterfly knife and a sword in the car, which I want to highlight were part of my collection and not a weapon, and that I've never been involved in any violent behavior. I was required to spend another 30 days in jail as a result. For my community service, I helped in various places in my hometown and strengthened my connection to it, which was very rewarding in itself. During my probation, I paid all my fines and restitution and was released after only 3 years instead of the 5 years probation. And I've been in good standing since. In the 17 years since being released from my supervision, I've strived to not just be an upstanding, but an outstanding member of the community. I had my daughter, Amelia, who's now 11, married her mother, Amy. I spent a few months as a stay-at-home dad while we moved to Madison for my wife's job, found daycare, and settled into our new community. Aside from that, I've had steady employment at various companies, including my current employer for 6 years, a nonprofit organization for over 3 years working with developmentally disabled and disadvantaged individuals, and a small business for 3 years, where I saw firsthand how tight money can be. We own a duplex where we rent out one side and live on the other, and before that, a single-family home that we rented out after moving away. We have made it a point to rent to less fortunate families, people that others might turn away, after learning firsthand how difficult finding a home is when you have any red flag. I take great joy and pride in my efforts to give back to the community by donating to local charities, volunteering as chaperone at school events, helping with PTO fundraising and community engagement events, and running an after-school club weekly for the past school year. I've also attended many village, school, and library board meetings, focusing mostly on the library board where I'm a regular attendee. About 20 years ago, I made a series of mistakes that hurt many people. I damaged their sense of security and stability, and I'm sincerely sorry for my choices and actions. I'm now asking for my security and stability to be returned to me. I now feel that I'm a good candidate to receive a pardon because I've grown so much from when I was 19, stayed out of trouble, focused on my family, and I want to continue to give back to the community in ways that are impossible with my current status. I want to apply to be on the library board, like the library director and other members have suggested to me, and potentially to other local offices. I also want to have the sense of security to know that I can continue helping and being there for my daughter by assisting at school functions and other places in the community without the possibility that some future administration or policy will prevent a felon from doing so. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm grateful for a chance to speak before you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Board members, questions for Mr. Clark? Cindy.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Clark. Thank you for submitting the letters of support. They were very helpful. I was particularly impacted by your father's letter. What was your impression of that?
I didn't review the letters before this. I read them before submission. So my recollection is going to be vague, but I disappointed him so much when all this happened. Like, he never saw any of it coming. It didn't I didn't give him any warning signs of things to try to intervene beforehand. And I'm glad that he he thinks I'm ready for a redemption, if you call it that. He pushed me in the direction of applying for a pardon. I reviewed the criteria and felt I fit the technical definition, but I didn't think I'd done anything remarkable or extraordinary, and it felt like that's what was needed. He helped me see that even though some of the things that I've accomplished are more localized, that I have changed, and I have been a positive influence on those around me since.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad he got you to apply. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry.
Mr. Clark, the DA's office in Jackson County reviewed your application for pardon. Now, Governor Evers will make the final decision, but the DA's office supports your application. How does that make you feel?
Great. It helps justify the application in my mind. Like I said, a moment ago, it was hard for me to accept or decide that I should apply. And then so after doing so and coming to that decision, it was just reinforced by a law prosecution agency or person saying yes, this seems like a good move. We support this. It was very validating.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Clark? All right. Thank you, Mr. Clark. Appreciate your time with us this morning and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You guys have a good day as well.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Willie Smith. Mr. Smith, we're ready to turn it over to you.
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing? How y'all doing?
Great. Thank you.
Okay, greetings. Like I said, my name is Willie M. Smith Jr. I am grateful for the board to consider my pardon for the paperwork. My offense was a theft charge back in 1998. I still feel really embarrassed for what I've done. But it was 27 years ago. I was able to get my high school education while I was in jail. And then I've been a bus driver off and on for 27 years. I provide safe travels for school children and children with disability. They was able to send me to like 3 or 4 states to help out with their school system in different states. And then the best day of my life was when I was able to follow my mother's footsteps, because my mother was a city bus driver for Milwaukee. I was able to do that for a little while. Then I went back. Right now, what I'm doing now, driving a school bus. I didn't have any kids before I went to jail, but I got 3 kids. I got a set of twins. I got all 3 girls. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm just still feeling remorse for what I've done. The state, I'm just trying. The reason I want a partner is because I really want, try to do, the right things by, jury duty, and right to, get, the vote and all this other stuff, and just, I'm just happy that y'all was able to consider my application, and like I said again, I want to thank y'all for, let me speak to y'all on my, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We'll open it up to questions from the board. Before I do that, though, I think I just heard you mention that you wanted your right to vote restored. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So before we ask questions, I just want to clarify for you and for anybody else who might be watching us on Wisconsin Eye that in Wisconsin, you're generally able to vote once you've finished your probation and your sentence. So if you're off paper, you generally can register and vote. So kind of regardless of what happens today or with the governor's ultimate decision, I would encourage you to look into that because it seems like you would very likely be able to vote in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Great. So questions from the board for Mr. Smith. Cindy.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Smith.
Good morning.
So it was about 25 years ago or more that you committed this crime, but it was a very serious crime. You concealed your identity. You had a knife. You threatened to kill the owner. I mean, can you talk about the impact on the victim of being a victim of that crime? How that must have felt?
I was young and dumb, but I don't remember threatening to kill her. But I was, like I said, I feel like back then I'm gonna be very honest with you guys. I had a serious like gambling problem, playing cards and all that. But I never smoked a drink. I never did drugs a day in my life. But back then I was 28 years old. Right now I'm 55. I'm so much mature from that. I'm trying to move on from that. I wish I could sit down and talk to the victims and apologize to them. But I definitely trying to like put this behind me. But it's always gonna be in my memory for what I done because this ain't me at all. I can promise you this ain't me. I just made a serious mistake of my life doing that. I wish I had never done that.
And you may have heard me ask previous applicants this, but you didn't submit any letters of support for us to review with your application. Can you tell us why not?
I wish I had done it, but I never know anything about the process. I know my sister had got a pardon in the state of Illinois. Like I said, I didn't realize. I mean, I wish I had done that. But my sister and them, they all helped me and stuff. I wish they would have sent a letter. I really didn't. If I had knew, I definitely would have had a lot of support from the community and stuff, especially from my employees and all that, because they know what kind of person that I am. So I definitely made a mistake doing that. I wish I would have done that.
Yeah, it can be very helpful for the board to see, we're trying to see who you are today.
Yes,
ma'am. Right? You want us to see who you are today, not who you were at 28. And so that, that's tough with just a 10-minute interview with you.
I wish I could change that because I would definitely had a lot of people. I would definitely have a lot of support because they know what kind of person I am.
Yeah. Okay.
So I wish I had done that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Noble.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, could you help the board to understand how this pardon would help you?
This pardon would definitely help me because, like I said, like I told y'all over and over and over again, I know y'all tired of me saying this, but I'm just so embarrassed. I just really want a pardon because I really just want to clear my name. I wish y'all guys would know what type of guy I am. Y'all will see. I just want to restore my rights. If they want me on a jury duty, I would do it and stuff like that. Because like I said, I'm not trying to be mindful, but I did, I don't know if my vote count. I mean, I did vote for Governor Evers. I am a Democrat. I did vote for him, but I didn't know if it counted or not, but I did vote for him. But I just want this all just be behind me. I just really want to pardon real bad because I think I would love it for real.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Other questions for Mr. Smith? Okay. Hearing none, thank you for your time today, Mr. Smith, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
All right. Thank y'all, board members. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Next up, we have Nathan Christopet. Mr. Christopet.
Jocelyn.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. First and foremost, I would like to thank you all for your time today and for speaking with all of us. In August of 2015, I was charged with felony burglary, was given 6 months in jail, time served effectively, and 4 years of probation following. The 4 years of probation was cut to 2 for good behavior, and my charges were expunged shortly after that, after the minimum time period had been met. Since sentencing, I went back to school. I graduated high school. I got my associate's, bachelor's, and a master's as well. I've been fully employed since. I've been in the staffing and recruiting industry for about 7 years. Worked in a variety of different industries, led teams, really enjoy what I do. Community involvement has also been something that I'm particularly passionate about. My mother passed in June from scleroderma. And so as soon as that happened, I got involved with the National Scleroderma Foundation. And even before that, I was involved with a type 1 diabetes research foundation, as well as a melanoma skin cancer foundation. As far as why I believe I deserve a pardon, it's really important for me to close this chapter of my life and put it behind me. The expungement was huge, and I'm very grateful for that, and that's allowed me to maintain good employment. But the pardon is kind of the final chapter there, like I said, and it would allow me to put this chapter behind me.
Thank you, Mr. Christophet. Questions from the board? Jerry.
Can you tell me about the relationship that developed with your victim?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. Thank you for asking. So it was actually a friend of mine's father, the victim, and he graciously actually showed up to my hearing and vouched for me, vouched for my moral character, because the crime and the actions that I displayed, it's not how I was raised. And I think he understood that, and just ultimately very grateful that he would come in and vouch for me.
And one more question. The judge in Racine County who reviewed your application supports your application for a pardon. Now, Governor Evers will make the final decision, but how does that support make you feel?
Yes, sir. Judge Gestrikevich, I got his letter of support. It's actually pinned on my fridge right now. I know that may sound a little corny, but it means the world to me. It really does.
Thank you.
Cindy.
Good morning, sir. You've heard me ask this question of others. You did not submit any letters of support for your application. Can you tell the board why not?
Yes, ma'am. Essentially, I got myself into this mess, and I think it's my responsibility and my responsibility only to get myself out of it on my own accord. I'm sure there's a few people who would have vouched for me, but like I said, I got myself into this. I need to be able to get myself out of it.
Well, I just want to respond to that, that it's for those who are listening and others, that it's very helpful for us as board members to receive these letters from whether it's family or neighbors or employers or community service people to get a picture of who this person is today and what they've accomplished since they've been released from supervision. So I accept your answer, but I also just want to note to others listening that it's very important for us to get these letters.
Understood.
Other questions from the board? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Christophet. Appreciate your time with us this morning and hope that you enjoy your weekend.
Thank you as well.
Thank you. Next up, we have Steve Allen Jr. Mr. Allen.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Steve Allen. I'm here today seeking a pardon for non-payment of child support back in 2003. That's 3 felony counts of that. For a long time, I had a lot of reasons for why I didn't do it, why I didn't pay the child support. The true ultimate reason is that I just wasn't mature. I was selfish. I cared about myself. I didn't recognize that there was another human life that needed my support. I continued to do whatever it is I wanted to do up until I got caught. And that's just the honest truth. There isn't I don't have a reason for why I was a poor father at that time and made the decision not to pay the child support. It was a conscious decision not to pay, and I didn't pay. And the felonies were the result of that. As a father to 3 children now, with the victim in this case, you would say being 27 years old. I have a 25-year-old daughter and another 22-year-old son. I can tell you that I am truly remorseful and embarrassed that I even had excuses for not paying the support. And to imagine how my older son's mother must have felt having to support him on her own breaks me down. Now that I'm now that I'm mature, my kids are older, and I see that sooner or later they're going to be having children in the exact same situations. Since these felonies, I've managed to become. I haven't, made too many excuses for myself. I've managed to become a leader in my work. I managed to start a small business where in these things I'm able to, not necessarily, I don't consider myself a mentor, but I'm able to speak up when I see somebody else doing the exact same thing I was doing. And that's just basically being selfish and not caring about anybody else. Right now, I am continuing to seek, right now I'm asking for a pardon for these felonies because one, it's embarrassing, it's not representative of who I am now. I've made a lot of different relationships with people as I've became a small business owner, as I'm in leadership roles, where I feel that these felonies would not only embarrass me, but hinder my growth in these, with these people and in the situations that I get myself in. And that's all I'd say.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Questions from the board? Jerry, sorry, was that a hand? Yes.
Yes. What's your relationship now with your son, Tyler?
It's a great question. It's good. I think we're in a great place. And I say that because he's opening up to me. He speaks to me more. He's and he's I think he recognized the fact that I've accepted responsibility for the past, and he allows me room to he allows me to be able to not so much per se to be to come in and be his father, but he allows me room to be in his life. So I would like to think that our relationship is in a good place.
Yeah, thank you.
Cindy?
Good morning, Mr. Allen. You applied and were denied a pardon in 2021.
Correct.
Yeah. So you're back, and what do you think has changed since then?
Acknowledgement of the fact that this is nobody else's problem. It was my problem. I think that after the denial, I went back and I truly reflected, like, what is going on here? And I began to blame you. I began to blame everything other than myself for what it was that I'd done. The truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter what my mother did. It doesn't matter what my sister did. It doesn't matter what the prosecutor did. I put myself in that situation. And that's what the difference is today. And because of that acknowledgement, it doesn't make me worthy or any more for the pardon. However, I just figured I would try again. With that being said, and letting you know that I acknowledge fully that it was my fault. And it doesn't matter whether I changed, whether I helped her with her car or whatever the case may be. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And that's just plain out what it is.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Mr. Allen, I want to follow up on what Reverend Hancock asked you about. Are you aware that we did get a letter of support from your son?
No, I'm not.
He did send in a letter of support for your pardon application. So I just wanted to highlight that for you because we all had the pleasure of reading that. So I wanted you to know that it existed.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Last call for any other questions from the board. All right, then I think that covers it, Mr. Allen. Thank you so much for your time and hope you enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have David Brantley Jr. Mr. Brantley.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Brantley. We can hear you. We can't see you.
Not sure what's going on with this camera. Let me just log into my phone here because the computer isn't working. I'm sorry about that.
That's
I
okay.
wasn't
Go
aware
ahead.
that the camera wasn't working. Am I there? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me put this. I apologize for that. I wasn't aware that the camera wasn't working on the computer.
That's all right. We can hear you and see you now, so go ahead.
Hello, board. I appreciate you all for taking the time out to review my application and consider me for this pardon. My name is David Brantley. I'm a father of four, entrepreneur, soon-to-be husband. Been engaged to my fiance, whom I've been with for the last 16 years. We'll be married in the next year or so. And I'm here to pretty much ask for a pardon for some charges that I had in my younger years. My first charge is when I was 16 years old. I was charged with possession with the intent to deliver of controlled substance. And honestly, a lot of people tend to make a lot of excuses for why they made the decision they made. They tend to blame a lot of external things like the environment and things like that. Although a lot of those things did play a part in why I even felt like that was an option. Honestly, my upbringing and the things I grew up around actually repelled me from a lot of the negative things for a good deal of my life. You know, up until I was 16 years old, I actually stayed away from a lot of those things. I excelled at basketball. I excelled academically in school. I did a lot of positive things because of because of my environment, and I didn't want to subject myself or become what I grew up around. But when I was 16 years old, I came home from school one day, and my mom was I had seen I had seen the eviction notice on the door, and I seen that she had a lot of stress on her face, and she didn't know where she was going to get the money from, and I made a conscious decision to go outside and try to figure it out. As the oldest of seven, and my father wasn't around. My father was incarcerated at the time for drugs as well. And I just made a conscious decision to go out and try to make some things, to try to come up with the money for my mom. And I did that. And to be honest, me making that decision and coming and bringing that home, it made me feel good about myself. Although I didn't do the right thing to come up with those funds, it made me feel good that I was able to rid my mom of that burden. So actually 2 days after making that decision is when I caught my drug case. So that should have been an eye opener for me that selling drugs wasn't my niche or wasn't for me. I was placed on probation. I completed the probation, but soon after, I continued to make those same negative decisions, and I ended up catching another case for drugs as well. But actually, around the time when I was arrested for that, I had already began to kind of change my life. I had applied for a college in Minnesota, I'm sorry, not St. Norbert. I'm sorry, I'm being long with it. I'm kind of nervous, but yeah. So to kind of get back on course here, um, I'm an entrepreneur. I have a trucking company, which I've been running for since 2021. I have an embroidery company, which is called Brantley Embroidery. I'm still in the process of trying to scale that now, but primarily, my primary focus is my trucking company. And the reason why I'm here considering a pardon is because at that particular time in my life, I made a lot of foolish decisions, and I'm just not that person. You know what I mean? At this point in my life, I'm 34. At the time, I was 21 years old. It's been about 15 years since I made those decisions, and I just want to rid myself of the stigma that's associated with being a felon. I want to rid myself. I want to open up different opportunities. For instance, with my trucking business, a lot of doors has been closed to me due to the fact that I have a felony. I've attempted to get contracts with military, but they won't allow me on the military base due to the fact that I have those felonies. So it's just a lot of doors that have been closed to me due to, my background. And I just want to kind of, I'm no longer that person. So I want to kind of leave that felony behind me as well, along with those foolish decisions that I'm no longer that person.
Thank you, Mr. Brantley. Questions from the board? Judge Kremers.
Good morning, sir. In 2015, you were arrested for disorderly conduct. What was this? Maybe domestic violence related?
2015. I think that might have been a situation where me and my fiance might have had a little spat at home, but it was nothing physical or anything like that. And I think at the time I was on probation. I was still on probation at that time. Yes, I was detained because when they came, they pretty much said someone has to go. And, so the neighbors had called due to a verbal argument that we had. It's nothing physical.
How long were you on probation for? When did you get off probation?
2016. Yeah, 2016.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions from the board? None? All right. Thank you, Mr. Brantley. I appreciate your time today, and I hope you enjoy your weekend.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
Our last applicant of the morning session is Matthew Hastrier. Hello. Is it Hastrier? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Hostrider.
Hostrider. Thank you.
It's a tough one. Yeah. Well, good morning. I want to thank each and every person on the Pardon Advisory Board and, of course, Governor Tony Evers for the work they are doing to help felons in the state of Wisconsin receive one of the most significant and impactful second chances that anyone anywhere could dream to receive. Thank you in particular for reviewing my pardon request and giving me the time this morning. My offense was possession of narcotics. I was a hopeless drug addict and my home was raided by a drug task force team, with my door being broken down in the early hours of the morning. Being raised in a good home and after years of exhaustion from active addiction made me cooperative during the search of my home. I knew there was nothing I could do to get out of this one. I had been up all night, all the drugs were gone, needles were everywhere, and hope was nowhere to be found. While I did not come to get fully clean immediately after that, a few months down the road I did, after going to an inpatient drug treatment center. I learned that I was lying about everything and to everyone in my life, especially myself. I began to practice rigorous honesty and probation and parole, and the Department of Corrections became a non-issue for me for the first time in my life. I was a compliant individual and even was invited to speak at a drug task force meeting in my home county. I finished my sentence of probation without fear or anxiety of getting caught or not passing a drug test, and only had to report every couple months, having quickly been recognized as a non-flight risk post-treatment. Since getting clean in 2013, which was 3 years before the end of my sentence, I poured myself fully into my community, my family, and my places of employment. I've held numerous roles with high visibility and significant responsibility, roles that demanded leadership and integrity. I understand the influence a leader holds, and I take that responsibility seriously every day with everything that I do. I've been deeply immersed in the 12-step recovery culture in Northeast Wisconsin for 12 years. As of tomorrow, August 9th, I will celebrate 12 years of continuous recovery, which could not make the date of this meeting more impactful. Over that time, I've served as a motivational speaker at multiple rehabilitation centers, as well as jails and prisons in the Northeast Wisconsin area. My testimony has even been shared in a Wisconsin Department of Health Services public service announcement for the safe and effective use of Narcan. It's important to note that the invitation for that opportunity came from a previous probation officer that I had, one whom I used to lie to, but in recovery went back to own up to my dishonesty and make amends to. My probation officer stated that no one in her entire career ever came back to her to make amends for doing the wrong thing. I've also played an instrumental role in bringing a retreat experience and nonprofit ministry to Green Bay Community Church, which has helped hundreds of men and women find rest and rhythm in their daily lives, leadership, marriages, parenting, and spiritual growth. One of my professional roles was working at that church, where I led a community of individuals and families experiencing financial and social poverty toward upward mobility. I believe I deserve a pardon because I built my life around the belief that anything is possible. I came from a place where true recovery was not well known. But once I found people like me who had made it to the other side, I knew that I could too. Today, I'm a respected leader in my industry. I influence hundreds of team members and thousands of guests each year. I lead with integrity and purpose because recovery gave me back my name and my character. I am no longer the man I was when I made those mistakes. On paper, I may be a felon, but in reality, I bear no resemblance to that person anymore. I mentioned in my letter that I wanted to join the Army. That desire is still alive in me. However, at 40, I recognize the impact that would have on my family, and while I have not fully ruled it out, I also understand that my calling may lie elsewhere. I believe in the depths of my heart and soul that I have truly done everything in my power to earn a pardon. I want my story to prove to others that anything is possible. I want to show my 3-year-old daughter that dreams can come true, no matter how long they take or far-fetched they may seem. I want to be able to pursue life opportunities where I will not be held back by something as seemingly permanent as a felony, when complete and continual transformation and restoration has truly occurred. I believe that restoring my name through a pardon would reflect not just who I am today, but the potential that lies within every person who chooses to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hostrider. Questions from the board? I do not see any, so I believe that your letter and your application materials covered everything. I appreciate your time with the board today, and I hope that you enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. To you all as well.
Thank you. Okay, we'll do one last call for Lydell Ashford. Mr. Ashford, not see you in Zoom. All right. So that was our last applicant of the morning sessions. At this point, I will entertain a motion to move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes section 19.85 sub 1A, D, and F for purposes of deliberations concerning specific cases before the board, considering specific applications and financial, medical, social, and personal histories of specific persons. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Judge Kremers, second from Anthony. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We will move into closed session, and I will ask board members to give me just a minute to stop the live stream. And good afternoon, everyone. If you're just joining us from the waiting room, we're just going to give it a minute for everyone to get connected to audio, get our live stream going, and we'll get started in just a moment. Okay, we will take just another minute for our live stream to catch up with us, and then we will get started. And we are live. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mel Barnes. I am Chief Legal Counsel to Governor Evers and the chair of his Pardon Advisory Board. I'm going to introduce my fellow board members, and we'll go through a couple of housekeeping items about how this afternoon's hearing will run, and then we'll get started hearing from all of you. So with me today on the Zoom, we have board member Noble Ray, who served with the Madison Police Department for almost 28 years and was Madison's chief of police from 2004 to 2013. He also led the U.S. Justice Department's Policing Practices and Accountability Initiative and currently provides racial bias training for law enforcement agencies around the world. We have member Myrna Warrington, who is the Director of Vocational Rehabilitation on the Menominee Indian Reservation. She is a U.S. Army vet and has been a member of the Menominee Tribal Legislature for over 15 years. We have board member Anthony Cooper Sr., who is the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships and Reentry Services for Nehemiah Center for Urban Leadership Development. He is also the CEO of Focused Interruption, and he received a pardon from Governor Evers in 2021. We have Board Member Cindy O'Donnell, who served as the Deputy Secretary for the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle. She also was a Division Administrator under Attorneys General Lautenschlager and Van Hollen. We have Board Member Judge Jeffrey Kremers, who is AG Josh Call's appointee to this board. He served as Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge for 26 years, including as Chief Judge for 7 of those years before retiring in 2018. And we have Board Member Reverend Jerry Hancock, who is the Director of the Prison Ministry Project. He previously served as a public defender, a deputy district attorney, and as an administrator for the Department of Justice's Division of Law Enforcement Services. I'll go through just a couple of housekeeping notes here before we get started. The first is to please keep in mind that today's hearing is being live streamed via Wisconsin Eye and YouTube. So we'll ask you to keep yourselves muted and your video off until it is your turn to be heard by the board. That way we'll have good audio quality and the board can focus on the person who is presenting. We'll call folks up in the order listed on the agenda and open meetings notice. You may run into some IT issues. It's Zoom. We are all still experiencing that. So if you do have any issues, someone from the staff will reach out to you. We'll get it sorted out. And if that means we need to come back to you, we certainly can do that. Otherwise, folks will have 5 minutes each with the board. We'll ask you to spend the first 3 of those minutes speaking to the questions that we provided you in advance. As a reminder, those are to first give us a brief summary of the offense you're seeking a pardon for and how your sentence went. We're not here to retry the crime. You don't need to minimize your involvement. We just want to hear from you in your own words what happened. Second, to give us a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, community involvement, employment, essentially how your life looks different now than it did at the time of your offense. And then third, and finally, a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. Once you speak to those 3 questions, again, hopefully about 3 minutes, we'll open it up to questions from the board, anything additional that we may want to ask you about. Don't read too much into it. If we don't have questions for you, we have all spent quite a bit of time with your application materials. And as you all know better than anyone, those are very thorough and cover a lot of ground. We do have questions, though. We want to make sure we get to them so we can make a considered recommendation to the governor. Once you're done with questions from the board, you're welcome to sign off and leave the Zoom hearing. You do not need to stay all day. And once everyone has been heard, the board will meet into closed session and consider whether or not to send your application to the governor. You need a majority support of board members present in order for your application to go to the governor, who will then make a final decision about whether to grant you a pardon. Either way, you'll hear about the outcome of today's hearing in about a month to 2 months from today. We know you've been really patient just to get to today's hearing. We do really appreciate that and you giving us that time needed to make a thoughtful recommendation to the governor. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started with our first applicant of the afternoon group, which is Tiffany Mashnick. Ms. Mashnick, we're ready to turn it over to you.
Hi. All right. I will just get started. All right. So in October of 2004, I made a senseless and regrettable decision. I committed burglary against a former employer. It was a mistake that I've carried with me every single day since. I was just turning 18 at that time. So young, naive, and not fully grasping the weight of my actions or the consequences that it could bring. As a result, I spent around 45 days in Waukesha County, Huber, separated from my then 1.5-year-old son. That time away and the shame that followed left a lasting impact. This felony has made it incredibly difficult to secure jobs and sometimes even housing. It's something that I've been too ashamed to even tell my children about, that are now 21 and 19, because it's not who I am anymore. Since that mistake, I've worked hard to change my life. I've stayed out of legal trouble aside from a few speeding tickets. I've earned my GED. I've completed an associate's degree in medical administration. However, I've learned that sometimes having a felony makes it nearly impossible to get hired in the medical field. But I didn't stop there. I've recently earned my realtor's license and enrolled in cosmetology school. Aside from working full-time, I go to school part-time evenings at Chanel Arter School of Culture here on Madison's West Side. My children and I have volunteered with the Salvation Army, sometimes during the holidays when we lived in Milwaukee. And I've also maintained steady employment always. I paid my restitution in full and completed probation without any issues. I'm asking for a governor's pardon, not to erase the past, but to acknowledge how far I've come since then. I live every day with the lessons my mistake taught me, and I strive to be someone my family and I can be proud of. A pardon will not only allow me to move forward without the weight of a single bad decision, but it would also open doors for my future and for my families. I want to continue contributing to my community and building a life rooted in growth, responsibility, and hope.
Thank you, Ms. Mashnick. Questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, thank you. I think that covers it for us then. We appreciate your time, Ms. Mashnick, and hope you enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. Next up, we have Jonathan Hassel. Mr. Hassel. Oh, it looks like Mr. Hassel is just joining us in the Zoom. We'll give him a minute to get connected, and in the meantime, let's move on to Aisha Harris. Ms. Harris, do we have you with us?
Yes, good afternoon.
Oh, there you are. Good afternoon.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to speak today. And I like to say what happened in 2000 with my conviction. All right, so I was convicted of attempt theft by fraud conviction. And what happened in that conviction was I was at choir rehearsal, and a friend of mine and others, we noticed that he was coming to choir rehearsal with new clothes and money all the time. So we asked him to show us where he's getting all these things from. So he took us to an apartment, introduced us to his friend. His friend gave us a check, told us to deposit it in the bank and bring him back a certain amount, and then we can keep the rest. When I deposited mine, I was surrounded by 5 detectives when I pulled up to the drive-through, and I was taken in for questioning. Then they let me go. I figured something was wrong at that point. So when I was at the station, to protect my friend, I fabricated a story, not realizing the seriousness of the situation. Later, I found out I was convicted of a felony and sentenced to probation and restitution. Although I didn't withdraw anything, the situation did put the bank at harm. So I actually could have paid the restitution right then and there, and all the charges would have been dropped, but I didn't realize even the seriousness of the situation. So I continued on with life as normal. I was enrolled in the Army at the time to become a military officer, and then I found out I couldn't continue that due to what was on my record. So things are starting to kind of register in my mind. Then I was applying, I had a college degree at the time. I was applying for bank jobs, couldn't get those because of what was on my record. Bank accounts, I was rejected. I still continued to try to better my opportunities and continued at a 4-year university, moved on to more background flexible occupations. So I became a carpenter, then I became an abatement supervisor. Then I was injured, and at that point I received a disability on the job. And then, despite of my record and that disability, I continued with my education as an audio engineer and in information technology, which I'm still studying with the information technology and earning some more certifications in that. I also use my skills and education within my LLC and community services at my church, which I've been doing over 30 years, choir, praise and worship, block parties, concerts, touring, political campaigns, amusement parks, Broadway plays, throughout the church and with my LLC. The reason I'm asking for a pardon today is because it'll help my reputation. It'll look like I have a clean background when they're doing background checks, more education, more employment, business loans or grants. I just like to be a candidate. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Questions from the board? Jerry. Oh, you're still muted, Jerry.
Ms. Harris,
Sir.
the district attorney's office in Milwaukee County reviewed your application for a pardon, and the governor will make the final decision, but the Milwaukee County DA's office supports your application. How does that make you feel?
I'm absolutely fine with that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Ms. Harris? Right, seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Harris. We really appreciate your time this afternoon.
Absolutely.
Hope you have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks. I see that we have Mr. Hassel in the Zoom now. Mr. Hassel, we're ready to turn it over to you. Let me know if you would like me to repeat the questions that we're hoping you'll speak to.
Hi, yeah, could you repeat those questions?
Yeah, Mr. Hassel, you're breaking up just a little bit, and we don't have you on video yet. Are you able to turn your camera on?
Yeah, I turned it on. Can you see it?
Not yet, no. We'll try prompting you and see if that helps.
Start my video. My internet connection is unstable.
Okay. Yeah, you look pretty frozen.
Yeah.
Can you try speaking now?
Oh.
Okay, Mr. Hassel, your audio is not coming through either. So we'll have someone reach out to you and help you try to troubleshoot, but it may be as simple as logging out, logging back in. In the meantime,
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. In the meantime, we will move to William Clay. Mr. Clay.
Oh, hello. Thank you. Little notes here. My name is William. I'm requesting a pardon for a nonviolent felony conviction that has followed me for just about 25 years now. In 2001, at the age of 17, I was arrested and prosecuted as an adult for possession of 5 grams of marijuana. I was sentenced to prison before turning 18. While the laws at the time permitted this, current policy and public understanding reflect a more balanced approach toward youth justice, particularly for nonviolent offenses. Since completing my sentence, which was awful, by the way, I've worked diligently to turn my life around. In 2006, I went back to MATC after rolling around the dirt for a little bit, trying to understand it. I moved on from there to get an internship with the state Senate, Wisconsin State Legislature. I worked for Senator Spencer Cox from my district, Milwaukee 6th District. And that was a great opportunity to learn some of the tools that I would need to figure this out, to start breaking down the building blocks, as well as just gaining good experience with policy procedure, research, civic engagement. Most recently, in 2010, I earned my bachelor's from UW. And my son was born, and I had to figure out life from there. I went back in 2008 or 19 and got my master's from UW-Madison in 2022. My education has centered on entrepreneurship and community development. I remain committed to creating economic opportunities for underserved communities in Milwaukee and across the state. I volunteered my time to support educational initiatives, including story time with Mr. Clay for various daycares, mentored young professionals, and advocated for second chance legislation. I've done everything within my power to rehabilitate and grow as a person, yet this decades-old conviction continues to limit my ability to access professional and administrative roles aligned with my education and experience. A pardon would not only provide relief from these barriers, but also acknowledge the progress I've made. It would allow me to fully contribute to the Wisconsin economy and to serve as a role model for young people, including my family, people of color, navigating similar challenges. I believe I embody the spirit of and the purpose of the pardon process, which is rehabilitation, accountability, and readiness to move forward. Thank you for your time and consideration. I am available to provide any other documentation and references in support of this request.
Thank you, Mr. Clay. We'll open up to questions from the board. Questions for Mr. Clay? Jerry.
Mr. Clay, the Milwaukee County DA's office and the judge in Milwaukee County reviewed your application for a pardon, and the governor will make the final decision. But how does that support make you feel?
It does really feel good. I remember that judge. There wasn't the same judge, but the time between the request and them approving was very, very quick, and it feels phenomenal. I really hope that it follows through, and then they can give me that chance, because all I want to do is get that chance and just keep being a better person.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Clay. I note that you've had 3 OWIs. Have you had treatment, or what is your current alcohol use?
Quite minimal. I've been working 85-hour weeks for the past year and a half. Those moments are unfortunate. Those are pieces of the puzzle, figuring out how I'm important, what I can do. And yeah, I wish they never happened.
Have you had treatment?
Oh, yes. I've completed all the necessary programs. I have a valid driver's license. There's been nothing since the last thing, and I'm very aware of that every day. I'm sorry that it happened.
When you say you've completed necessary programs, what have you done specifically?
I've done the state regulated, alcohol treatment classes. I've done them in appropriate time frame. I've also done personal therapy prior to sentencing. I stayed engaged for over 12 months. I completed that individual one. I saw in early 2000s, just trying to understand what kind of makes me tick. And I worked with a dialectical behavioral therapist and learned more about compound and hyper ADHD, things that you can do, try to steer away from medications and things that become addictive. And I completed a half marathon in 2018 as a use of those tools. Let's see, I paid all my fines. I've done the nail tests, to clip your nails and all that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions for Mr. Clay?
I have one.
Myrna?
So when she asked you about, are you still doing anything? You said minimal. How much is minimal?
I've counted at least maybe a beer, say like 4 days out of the week. I mean, one of my challenges right now is that I have to work in industry jobs, and some of the ones that pay the money that my family needs, which even with 3 jobs and 85 hours a week, it's just not enough. And one of the bigger challenges is that some of the money that's available is in the industry. And so sometimes it was difficult to not engage with customers and not be the leader that unfortunately those people sometimes would need. I've been there. So the real challenge is to try to use those skills that I can't use right now so that I can get away from the industry, because it's a place that's dangerous for anybody. But it's been the only place that's been willing to hire me, and I can't leave my family without money. So I'm really I've been fighting to just try to be able to be a valid candidate for professionally administrative jobs. And I'm very well aware of that. And
Well, that don't answer the question, but thank you.
Oh,
Mr. Clay, I'll take one more swing at this here. In your application, it says that you were active in the AA community. Is that something that you're still doing?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to make as many meetings as I can. Wednesday through Friday, I work 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. It's just, I'm not hitting a lot of sleep, but I've been trying to get to the morning ones. It's more of the afternoon ones if I can get to. I haven't been able to consistently do it. I've been trying to add in more positive things like a garden in my life, walking the dog, kind of things like that. But if it would appease the board to show a commitment to, a length of courses, if I have to, I will. I mean, I've done everything up until this point that I've been told to do and more in my own capacity, paying out of my own pocket as well. So I can show that.
We're just trying to understand what your life looks like now, Mr. Clay. That's all. Any other questions from the board? No? Okay. I think that covers it then. Thank you for your time this afternoon and hope you enjoy your Friday.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Okay, I know we've got Mr. Hassel back, so let's turn to Mr. Hassel and see if we can get Zoom to cooperate.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. She said maybe I should just try doing it without the camera to so we could get it to go through.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Why don't you go ahead?
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Hassel, did you hear at the beginning kind of what we'd like you to speak to?
I missed that because my internet is not working too well today.
Got it. Okay. So we'd like to spend about 5 minutes with you and have you spend the first 3 of those minutes speaking to the questions that we sent you in advance of today's hearing. So
Okay.
that's giving us a brief summary of your offense and how your sentence went, a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including employment, community involvement, things like that. And then third, a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. And
Sure.
once you spend about 3 minutes speaking to those, we'll open up to the board for any follow-up questions we have.
Absolutely. So, well, for me, it's not charge, it's actually charges. I had one charge in 2013 that happened at a baseball game, and I got into an argument with the umpire, and he essentially came at me, and so then I swung at him, and then I ended up getting charged. I was going to fight the charge, but it's not that easy to fight a charge. It really isn't. And so I couldn't really find a lawyer to do it, and I couldn't do it myself. So I just took the plea deal. That was a year probation. It didn't matter. I just did the probation and it was done. So that's that charge. And then, anyway, time went on for a little while. And then I got involved in a relationship. It turned out that she had a pill addiction, which I knew nothing about. She was getting prescription from a doctor. I thought, oh, okay, it was fine. I didn't know anything about it. And so we went on for a while, and then she started like getting pills on the street. And then all my money was gone. And it was like the first time in my life where I actually started to experience like extreme need. And so I wanted to make it work with her. And so I was doing everything I can to try and help her. I didn't realize, at that point, what was happening really. And so then we ended up getting some theft charges. And so there was
Mr. Hassel, if you can hear me, we've lost your audio again. Mr. Hassel, I think what we might do is have you try to call in by phone, because we've lost even your audio from the internet now. Okay. Let's see if we can just get Mr. Hassel back on the phone quickly. I hate to stop in the middle here. Okay, Mr. Hassel, looks like we've got you back by Zoom.
Yeah.
We're trying to call you in. Okay, we can hear you now.
Okay, great.
We lost your audio right after you were speaking to, I believe it was you and your girlfriend.
Yeah. So me and her accumulated some charges. Immediately after that relationship, that was 2017, when the relationship ended. I just like I said, if anybody was to ask me, how do you change? How do you get out of a lifestyle that you're not supposed to be involved with? I would simply say exactly what I did. Put your head down and work. Work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's basically what I've been doing in a nutshell since 2017. And so when you're working, you don't have problems, or you don't have the kind of problems that I had at that time anyway. So that's just what I've been doing since I'm kind of like in between some things right now. And I'm actually finding, like, as I'm going on in my career, progressing in my career, and I'm finding it a little bit of a hard time with some of these charges on my record to progress. And that's just the gist of, why I started this program appealed to me. Thank you for this program and the opportunity to talk to you about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hassel. We'll open it up to questions from the board. Cindy.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Hassel. So in your application, the last employment you list ended in January 2022. Have you had any employment since then?
Since then, no. Since then, I've just been kind of in between things.
Well, that's not in between things. That's 3 years of not working.
Yeah, almost 3 years now.
Yeah.
Just in between. Yeah, in between things is all I can really say.
Yeah. It's not required with the application, but applicants are encouraged to submit letters of support for their application, and you did not submit any letters. Can you tell us why not?
I don't have anybody really like that. I have like a few friends, but that's about it, really.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Anthony?
Mr. Hassel, if you don't mind, if you can I understand what my other board member was also kind of asking, as far as when you say in between things, are you saying that you're hopping in between jobs? Can you kind of explain that a little bit more in depth for us, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm in the process right now of kind of rehabbing myself and redoing my resume.
So what are you doing for income for the last 3 years? What have you been doing for income?
Well, I have I worked for a while, and I kind of had some income that in a money market account. And so that essentially like pays my bills.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Jerry, question from you. Oh, you're on mute, Jerry.
In 2016 in Outagamie County, you had a couple of domestic abuse cases.
Yes.
What's that all about?
Well, I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and when there's a call about an argument, when the cops, and I didn't know this until this happened, when there's an argument and the cops come, somebody just immediately has to get charged, apparently. So that's kind of what happened. And then the charges got dropped.
Okay. And then the Outagamie judge who reviewed your application, and Governor Evers will make the final decision, but the judge supports your application for pardon. How does that make you feel?
Well, that makes me feel great. You know, I think the judge kind of knows. I think that the judge had a handle, and he even said, love is blind, because he could see that like I was involved with this girl and I loved her and I wanted to make it work. And he said, love is blind and we do things. He said, be done with this and don't even think about it. And that's what I've done.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, now I was muted. Other questions for Mr. Hassel? Okay, I think that covers it then. Thank you for your time today, Mr. Hassel, and hope you enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. Thanks.
Next up, we have Brandon Hayes. Mr. Hayes. Mr. Hayes, do we have you? Okay, we will try to come back to Mr. Hayes if he joins us later. Charles Purifoy, Mr. Purifoy. Mr. Purifoy, I can see you in the Zoom if you're able to unmute, and it's possible I'm just saying your last name very incorrectly, so I'm sorry, but Charles Purifoy. Okay, Mr. Purifoy, one last call. Otherwise, we will try to come back to you as well.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there we go.
Okay, sorry about that. Just making it home from work. I was trying to open the door and make it in time so I can speak to you guys.
No problem. Would you like me to run through the questions that we're asking you to speak to again?
Seems like he's frozen.
Yeah. Zoom is not our friend this afternoon.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay, great. Are you ready to proceed, or would you like me to recap the questions again?
Can you recap the questions, please? I didn't quite hear you.
Yeah, so we'll ask you to spend the first 3 minutes speaking to the questions that we sent you in advance of today's hearing. So that is first, a brief summary of the offense you're seeking a pardon for, how your sentence went. We're not here to retry the crime. We just want to hear from you in your own words what happened. And second, a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, your employment, community involvement now, how your life is different than the time of your offense. And then third, just a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. Once you've spent about 3 minutes on those, we'll open up and see if the board has any follow-up questions for you.
Okay, sure. Okay, first and foremost, I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity, the board, as well as the governor. I just get off work as I'm speaking, kind of sweating. Sorry about that. Been working, changing my life. Last 10 years, been out of trouble. First time a homeowner. Just been trying to, stay on the right path, do the right things the right way. Back in 2013, 14, had a run-in with the police, delivered marijuana, made a bad decision, let myself down as well as my family. I'm just trying to stay focused and, no look back and just, do things the right way. Just looking forward, just doing things the right way. I talk to a lot of youth about, getting in trouble. It's easy to get in and it's hard to get out. I've been going to church, doing a lot of community work with a lot of elders in my neighborhood. A lot of them is not able to, do snow and do lawn care. That helps them out. So I've just been, doing things and hopefully it pays off. Like I said, first time homeowner, so I accomplished that. Just trying to stay focused and do what I have to do. and don't make no more mistakes. You know, like they said, if you know better, you'll do better. And I learned my lesson, just seeking a pardon so I can be able to, you know, get a better job or whatnot, social activities, and hope that the governor will grant me the pardon. I complete my probation, which was 3 years, 36 months, paid my restitution fee, no violations. I complete my cognitive behavior class as well. And I've just been, you know, doing the right thing and just being right to people, and just living the right life.
Thank you, Mr. Purfoy. We'll open up and see if board members have any questions for you.
Oh.
Board members? Jerry?
The judge and the district attorney's office in Milwaukee County reviewed your application for a pardon, and it'll be up to the governor to decide if you get a pardon. But how does the support of the judge and the DA in Milwaukee County make you feel?
Well, it was a lesson learned, you know. Like they say, you do the crime, you do the time. Like I said, I learned my lesson, and I just want to put it behind me, and no looking back, and just move forward.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions from the board? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Purfoy. I appreciate your time and you working through tech issues today. That covers it for us. So we'll wish you a good weekend. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You as well.
Next up, we have Ryan Bunker. Mr. Bunker.
Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Bunker, and I respectfully request your recommendation for a pardon. Back in 2015, I was convicted of attempted burglary of a dwelling. At the time, I was in a really bad place, addicted to opiates, unemployed, and just completely lost. I made a desperate and incredibly poor decision to try breaking into a tourist cabin, hoping to steal something I could trade for Percocet. I had heard that porcelain shards could quietly break glass, and I used that misguided knowledge in my attempt. I picked a cabin at random, broke in, and set off the alarms. I then attempted to lead police to someone else's house through the footprints I left in the snow, hoping to frame them. However, they would see through my attempt and found me at home where everything caught up with me. I was sentenced to 3 years of probation. For the most part, I did what was expected of me. I did have an OWI during that time and a probation violation for not reporting details about a fight I was around, but aside from those two mistakes, I completed everything: the classes, the assessments, and my financial obligations. I owned up to what I did, and I worked hard to stay on track. Since that time, I remained opiate-free and went 5 years without drinking alcohol. I earned my bachelor's degree in psychology at UW Superior and maintained steady employment. I'm especially proud of my work in the aging and disability field. I began as a home-delivered meal driver for the Lakota Aging and Disability Resource Center and worked my way up to become the Tribal Aging and Disability Resource Specialist. Eventually, I was recruited by the Great Lakes Intertribal Council, where I served as a Tribal Technical Assistant Specialist, advising the aging unit directors for the 11 tribes in Wisconsin. More recently, I stepped into a new role. I'm now the interim fire chief for the Lakota Volunteer Fire Department. While working full-time and going to school full-time, I became a state-certified firefighter and licensed emergency medical responder. I've also served on the school board of Udukadaring, our Ojibwe language immersion school, because language and culture are really important to me. I'm now working on my master's degree in public administration from UW Oshkosh. I'm requesting a pardon to remove the barrier it continues to create in pursuing my goals. I aspire to serve as a federal law enforcement agent. I believe Native Americans are underrepresented in federal service, and I hope to change that. I want to protect and serve in a way that honors the values I've learned through experience, through service, and through my Ojibwe culture. Perhaps someday I'll run for public office, but right now, my passion lies in making a meaningful contribution to public safety, national security, and law enforcement. Thank you again for listening, not just to me, but to everyone who's come before and will come after. I know the decisions you make carry real weight in people's lives, and I don't take this opportunity lightly. I've worked hard to rebuild and give back, and I'm committed to continuing that path. I hope you'll see me as someone who's taken responsibility, made real change, and is ready for the next chapter. Thank you again for your time and for the work you do.
Thank you, Mr. Bunker. We'll open up to questions from the board. Board members? Cindy.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bunker. A couple of questions. I think you mentioned volunteer fire department. Is that right? Okay, so are you currently employed for pay?
Yes,
Okay, where and what do you do?
I'm the interim fire chief. That's a full-time position.
Oh, it is, and it's paid.
Yep.
Okay, and what interim means you're going to pursue it? How long have you been interim?
Since July 15th.
Oh, okay, so just a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Were you employed previous to that?
Yep, at the Great Lakes Intertribal Council.
The what?
Great Lakes Intertribal Council.
Okay, and what did you do there?
I was the Tribal Technical Assistant Specialist. I advised the aging unit directors on the Older Americans Act and the Wisconsin Elders Act.
Okay, was that full-time employment?
Yes, ma'am.
It was. Okay. I'm trying to sort your substance use, your current situation, because in your application at a couple of different points, for example, you say, I've been sober since my incarceration in 2015, but then of course you had the 2019 OWI. So what does it mean when you say you've been sober? What are you sober from? And what is your current relationship with both opiates and alcohol?
Yeah, I apologize for that confusion. My intent was to indicate that I was opiate free since my incarceration.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then and then I continued to drink alcohol. Back in 2019, I was convicted for a second OWI in Stearns County, Minnesota. But since that, I remained alcohol free as well.
Okay. And on your application, you talk about, in this section about treatment, you say that you had aorta treatment between the years of 2015 and 2018, again, predating your second OWI. So what treatment have you had since your second OWI in 2019?
The Mothers Against Drunk Driving, there was a program called Chemical Freedom, I believe it was called. And then another assessment through some clinic out in Stearns County.
Okay. And do you attend AA or any other ongoing?
No, ma'am.
Okay. How do you maintain your sobriety then without what support do you get and from who?
From my father. He asked me to promise him that I'd quit drinking, and I respect and love him so much that keeping that promise to him meant more than having a beer, getting drunk.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Bunker? Jerry.
Can you tell us a little more about your involvement with the school?
Yeah. So Wadu Kadating is an Ojibwe language immersion school here in the Lakota Ray Reservation. I attended that when it first opened in 2001 to 2004. So that would have been grades 2, 3, and 4. Well, fast forward to about 2022, I was working at the Aging and Disability Resource Center here, and my supervisor had recommended me for a spot on the board. I took that opportunity and became the board secretary, and I got a lot of valuable experience of being on a board through that.
Good, thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Bunker? Okay, I think that covers it then. Thank you, Mr. Bunker. We appreciate your time and hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Justin Bose. Mr. Bose.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello there. Thank you for your consideration. My name's Justin Baisy. I'm 49 years old. And on May 6th of 1995, I was 1 year out of high school and 19 years old. And I was at the beginning stages of an alcohol problem. I had not been successful in my college tries, and I had dropped out of college. I was trying to become an airline mechanic and moved home and seeked employment as an auto mechanic. And at that time, my drinking kind of started getting out of hand on me. And on that night of May 6, 1995, I made several bad decisions. And the first of those bad decisions was me deciding to ride my motorcycle after I had been drinking. And I was at a party, and at the last minute, there was discussions that I was not to be able to stay overnight there. And I made a bad decision, decided to ride my motorcycle. And on the way home, an officer got behind me, and I decided to try to run. And out of fear and out of immaturity and just a very bad decision, I did just that. And I'm very grateful that shortly after I made that decision to run, I came to the conclusion that I had made a very bad decision and pulled over and admitted that I was scared and I made a mistake and was very apologetic. And that was basically the beginning of how I became a convicted felon. I pled no contest to eluding an officer. I was given a DUI along. I spent 4 days in jail, and after I got out of jail, I was able to get an occupational license and just hunkered down and focused on work. I was fortunate that I had some young brothers that were able to get me to work until my occupational kicked in. And I was 19, and that was 30 years ago. And that was the last time I had ever been in jail or had problems with the law. Since that, some years went by, and I did finally decide that drinking was no longer to be a part of my life. And I sought help for my alcohol abuse. And I'm very blessed and fortunate to have celebrated 20 years of continuous sobriety as of July 5th of this last month. And throughout that time, after my offense, I got married at the age of 23, fell in love, and bought my first home, and raised two beautiful children. And in fact, those boys are a big reason I'm appearing in front of you today, is they really want to see me get this mark removed from my record, if at all possible. And it really would bring a lot of sense of relief to have it removed. Part of the program is cleaning up the wreckage of the past. And this is one that's really been hanging over my head for a lot of years. It would really feel great to get that out of there. I was a volunteer firefighter for a lot of years. I started my own trucking company. I fell in love with dump trucking after I got out of the auto maintenance field, and I've been doing that ever since. I had an opportunity years ago to teach the kids at their vacation Bible study. I was able to take days off and volunteer with my kids when they were in school. When they were younger, we did a lot of camping. I was very active in my boys' Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and sporting events. I guess I didn't mention, but a big part of the reason where I finally realized that I really needed to get help for my alcohol abuse was when my youngest brother, he sustained a brain injury in 2004. And unfortunately, he's been in a wheelchair ever since, and he lives with my folks, and my folks are getting older. And because of my sobriety, my continued sobriety, I've been able to be there for them and help them out. I guess why I would like a pardon is, like I say, to put the wreckage in the past and really try to get this put behind me, and future employment, future travel. My youngest son just came back from abroad. He was studying in Japan, and I'm concerned. It seems like he's going to be a world traveler, so I worry that I won't be able to visit him. And as of now, both my boys are living together up in Minneapolis. My oldest son works at 3M, and my youngest is working for Lube Tech up there. And I get to travel and visit them up there, but I fear that if they go farther, I might have issues. But yeah, I thank you for your time and your consideration, and I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your day.
Thank you, Mr. Baisy. Questions from the board? Seeing none, I think you covered everything. Thank you, Mr. Baisy. I appreciate your time. Enjoy your Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're still trying to get Mr. Hayes on the Zoom. I think we're troubleshooting with him. So in the meantime, let's move on to Brenda Williams. Ms. Williams, I see you here.
Hello?
There you go.
Oh, you got it? Yes, I got it. Thank you. Can you see me?
We can.
Okay.
Ms. Williams, so I don't know if you heard at the beginning, there are those 3 questions we sent you in advance. We're going to ask you to speak to. Would you like me to repeat those?
No. Here's the thing. I'm just gonna get it from the beginning. Okay, I grew up in a neighborhood where, an urban neighborhood where we thought that because drugs was selling on every corner, probably like a liquor store. But my parents, they instilled in us, which is stability. They made sure that at age of 14, I was working, and my first job was doing bagging groceries. And then at 16, I worked at McDonald's. I fell off when I moved from Chicago because I didn't want, well, after I married my husband. And then I took my 2 kids because he was into drugs. And that made me started to wanting to sell drugs. Okay, because I knew that I had a better chance of making more money than I was at work. And come to find that wasn't right. So I moved to Milwaukee and I had a job there too. And then I realized the same situation was going on. I said, nope, this is not it. So I moved to Madison, Wisconsin. And then I came here to better myself. What I did, the main reason I'm seeking a pardon is because of the hurdles I had with employment. I have gone through multiple temp agencies to find a job in the past, and I always had issues with my background check. I feel that receiving my pardon could better my chances finding a job. I do graduate from MATC. My only problem I had was when I went to Globe University, I was going for a CMA, but the school, as we was doing internship, the school closed down. And yes, that did devastate me. But then a year later, I went to ITT Tech. So I figured that I can write, I got a business degree. And then when I got my business degree from there, one day before graduation, they closed down. So then I went to MATC. And I'm currently there, and I'm trying to get my degree in Bachelor of Science nurse. I also went to the Urban League where I have my administrative, healthcare administrative. What I want to do is combine them both together so I can work with business health. And now I really love working with we're not going to call them seniors because I'm up in the age group too. But I like working with the older people. And now I'm at Chapel Valley Hill where I was working until they looked in my background. So my background is causing me from continuing having employment. I know what I did and I can go back on my past. I'm still that woman, but I'm not that woman anymore. I'll just put it like this. I'm not that woman I used to be, but she will always be with me. So all I'm doing is trying to get farther into my education. not as much as education, but more in the work environment. I have had too many hurdles holding me back because, and I thought when people look at your application, they do a background check first, but that wasn't the case. And so I started doing private home care. And then I had a situation where a lot of my clients had passed away. And that hurts. That really does hurt because you get so close to them. All I want to do is have this partner off me so I can get a full-time job again. I am 61 years old. What else can I do? All I know is healthcare. At 16 years old, I became a candy striker, what they call, I was working at Roseland Hospital, what they call a CNA. Okay, now that's the new word for a CNA. But right now, I keep going forward. And this may have nothing to do with it, but since 2019, I've been going through a lot of hurdles. In June, my cousin passed away in May. Then June, my brother passed away. And then in August, my mother passed away of 19. And then 2020, my older sister, she passed away. My birthday, April 20, she passed April 23rd. Then 22, my sister Gloria, she 2 years older than me, she passed away. And then 23, she passed August 17th, and her son's birthday, August 18th. And then the next year, my youngest son passed away. Yes, I was very confused, and I tried to mourn one, but I kept going farther and farther back. I have seen a therapist for my depression that I've been going through, and I realized that I like working. I like being around other people, but I end up having so much anxiety. But I still go see the seniors. I'm sorry, the older people, but I can't work for them. So we actually sit in this senior communities, and we all sit together and we talk. Even the animals probably older than they are, but it's just I just want to go back to work, and I don't need this on my background.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. I just want to open up and see if there are any questions from the board. Board members? Jerry.
Ms. Williams, two things to start with. I'm very sorry for all your losses. Oh my gosh, that's just been terrible. And also, as someone who's even older than you are, I appreciate your concern about not calling us seniors. So thank you for that. I had a couple of questions though, and I know this goes back to a long time ago, but you said you were in Milwaukee, but you were also in Kenosha for a while, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you were selling cocaine when you were in Kenosha, right?
Yes.
And you'd been selling it for about 10 years before you got caught, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you were selling it to, because your kids needed help. You were selling cocaine to help your kids.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then you moved to Madison.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And you started running a drug house in Madison.
Actually, the whole building was a drug building.
Okay. All right. And was that at, let's see, 1918 Magnolia Lane, or was that in some other place?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you started selling drugs to help your kids. And then you were running a drug house at 1918 Magnolia Lane.
No, I wasn't running a drug house. It's just that the people that was outside doing their thing, and I let them come into my house sometimes to rest or get them something to eat or let them take a shower. But by them being associated with that implicated me. And I just didn't want those people out there when I can help them. See, the reason I do this, though, they call me Big Mama, but I don't like to see people out there just trying to struggle and trying to make it better for themselves. So I indicated that they can come here. Come on, you need a shower. You need something to eat. You know, it's like there's somewhere to sleep. Yes, my family was not very likable to that. And when I stopped using drugs, I told my dad for his birthday, was 10 years ago, I will give you the best birthday present is. I will stop using drugs. And I haven't used drugs in 10 years.
But for a while, you and your son were selling drugs.
Nope, my son was not selling drugs. It's just those people in the building, period. When I found, I take that back, I'm sorry. When I found out my son was selling drugs, I said, look, if you don't leave this alone, some bad things gonna happen. It's not always quick money, but it's always a problem to go with that. And he went to jail, and they had 2 years in there. And then he came out. I said, okay, have you learned your lesson? He did.
The police report, I think, says that you would go to another house, another place, get the drugs and bring them back to people in your house, and you would do the drugs with them.
No.
That's what the police report says.
That is not true, sir. What they did their drugs, and then they didn't do it in my house. Like I said, the whole building was drug infested. They get their drug. I did never go buy drugs for anyone. But like I said, I was always accommodating for people who wanted to take a shower, something to eat or sleep.
And nobody ever did drugs in your house?
No, I didn't allow that. No.
That's all. That's all the questions I have.
Thank
Judge
you.
Cremers?
Good afternoon, Ms. Williams. I just have a question about your arrest and conviction in 2013 for disorderly conduct, use of a dangerous weapon. What was that about?
That's when my companion and I were together, and he decided to threaten me. So I was defending myself. Well, he decided to threaten me with him and his brother was together. It was a knife. So I'm like, no, it's a fight or flight. You know, you're not going to kill me. I'm not going to let you kill me. So I took the axe and I blocked him. And then I hit him in his chest with the handle on it. And he told the police I was throwing there trying to kill him. I said, no, I was protecting myself. And I went in and they gave me a signature bond. And no, it didn't. I had to pay cash to get out of there with. And my nephews, they paid for me to get out with. So I didn't try to kill him. I was protecting myself, but I wanted him to not hurt me.
But you were convicted of a crime for that.
Yes.
Right. He wasn't.
No, it got actually, they kind of, what they did was say, well, there's a conflict of interest. Since he changed the story and told them, no, she wasn't trying to kill me. I just wanted her out of the house. If you can read that, you will see that. And then they dropped the charges.
But no, you were convicted though.
Yes.
Yeah. He wasn't convicted of a crime, but you were.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Okay, I think that covers it, Ms. Williams. Appreciate your time today and hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
I have a question. How will I know whether I will be expunged or not?
You'll hear about the outcome of today's hearing in about a month to 2 months from today's hearing. So we'll send our recommendations on to the governor, and then he'll make a final decision, and then the office will reach back out to you and let you know one way or another.
Well, thank you very much. Is there any more questions for me?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is there any more questions for me?
Any more Christians for you?
Questions.
Yes.
Oh, questions. I'm sorry.
Questions. I'm
a little
sorry.
loud here. No more questions for you. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Okay, and I believe we've got Mr. Hayes on the Zoom with us. So Mr. Hayes, if you can hear us, we are ready to hear from you.
Hello,
Hello, Mr. Hayes. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Were you able to hear the questions we'd like you to speak to in the beginning, or would you like me to repeat that?
Could you repeat those, please?
Absolutely. So we're going to ask you to spend about 3 minutes speaking to the questions we sent you in advance. So that's providing us with a brief summary of the offense that you're seeking a pardon for and how your sentence went. We're not here to retry the crime. We just want to hear from you in your own words what happened. And then second, telling us about what you've done since the completion of your sentence, employment, community involvement, essentially how your life is different today than the time of your offense. And then third, a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. Once you spend about 3 minutes on those, we'll open it up and see if there are other questions from the board for you.
Sure. My name is Brandon Hayes from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. My crime was, I want to say it was identity theft back in 2000. The crime was theft or theft by movable property, which we got information from a bank that I worked for at the time. It was First Star Bank. Used the debit cards at the time to get cash out, to basically do a little bit of gambling, a little bit of drinking, and pay bills when I was behind at the time. At the time, I was 25 years old at that time when I did the crime. Once again, very sorry that I did the crime because I was still working. I didn't have to really do it. It was kind of if I can get my hands on it, let's do it, but it was wrong from the beginning. So over that time, I've gotten married, had 3 beautiful children, seven grandchildren. Right now, I'm on the way to my oldest daughter's wedding as we speak. Didn't know what was going on there, so I'm on my way. So I'm doing that as we speak, as you can see the shirt and tie on. And then with that, in between the time, I've become a pastor. I've run my own church for about the last 10 years. I've also had to, do community service for that crime, which I did 100 hours of community service. But being a pastor, I've also helped other people with their lives to get things done for them in between that time as we went along in our lives. With the crime, let's say, right now, I want to be pardoned for the crime because right now it's been 25 years. Right now, I'm 50 years old. That crime has been done over it. I have not committed anything of that crime since then, or anything close to that crime since that time has taken place.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Questions from the board? Cindy?
Good afternoon, Mr. Hayes. As part of the application process, it's not required, but applicants are encouraged to submit letters of support for their application. And you did not submit any letters of support. Can you tell the board why not?
I did not submit letters of support. That's something that I truly overlooked. I could have asked a lot of other pastors to do that to me. So I did overlook that on my own. And I didn't reach out to other people, but I should have done that. And that was something that I missed.
Okay, thank you.
Judge Kremers.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hayes. Mr. Hayes, looks like in 2005, there was a domestic violence restraining order placed against you. Can you tell me what that was about?
That was due to my ex-wife being vindictive, to be honest with you. We got into a fight that was really just a really loud shouting match, and then it turned into something a little bit bigger. At the end of the day, that case was dropped.
Well, there was a restraining order against you, or an injunction for 4 years.
From what I remember, that was a drop. That case was dropped, from what I remember, back in 2005.
Okay, and you were ordered to pay $11,000 in restitution back in 1999 as a result of this conviction. Did you pay that restitution?
I paid the majority of that restitution. I think I paid like $7,000 into that back to the Department of Corrections.
And what about the other $4,000?
Once I get released, they said they didn't have to worry about it. I haven't heard anything since about owing that other amount of money. So if it's out there, I wouldn't have a problem paying it to take care of the matter.
I see. All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Hayes, just to follow up on that, it does look like there are a couple of unsatisfied monetary judgments against you in Milwaukee County. That might be that restitution.
Okay.
Looks like that would have been in 2006, 2016, 2017. There was a bench warrant issued for you due to that outstanding balance in 2017. Does that ring a bell?
That was for outstanding bench warrant was for child support that I had to take care of, which that warrant had been sitting for almost 10 years before that I had even known about it, if I recall correctly.
Okay, so those amounts were for the child support.
Yep.
Okay. Other questions from the board? Okay. Mr. Hayes, I think that covers it then. Thank you very much for your time with us and hope you enjoy the wedding.
I will. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.
Okay, so those are all of our applicants for this afternoon. I will do one more call for Mr. Lydell Ashford from this morning. I do not see Mr. Ashford. So at this point, I will entertain a motion to move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute, section 19.85, sub 1, sub A, D, and F, for purposes of deliberations concerning specific cases, considering specific applications, and financial, medical, social, and personal histories of specific persons. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Noble, second from Anthony. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We will move into closed